It's a homegrown blockbuster at the MCG. Dreamtime at the G has grown throughout the years, and there's a crowd of more than 80,000 filing into the home of football for Essendon and Richmond to provide the centrepiece of this Indigenous round. Not just a celebration of the game, but a celebration of one particular man. For Essendon, it's the first time in 20 years a player has gone through the 400-game threshold. The club, they're not quite a group booking yet. There's now 3 as Dustin Fletcher comes out onto the MCG.
Jared, here comes Dustin Fletcher for the 400th time out onto the MCG. A massive crowd, 85,000 people here. A massive stage with the Dreamtime at the G game. So many legends of the Essendon Football Club here to pay their respects. We played alongside Dustin Fletcher. And through the banner he goes. What a fantastic moment. What a fantastic stage this is. It's just a marvellous atmosphere, a marvellous vibe, a marvellous crowd, and so great that so many great Essendon Football Club legends could be here. From Sheedy to Wellman, Heffernan, Johnson, Blumfield, Harvey, Mercury, Ramanauskas, and now they all unite for a photo on the ground. What a marvellous moment for the Essendon Footy Club, and it is fantastic to be down here on the ground for Dustin Fletcher's 400th AFL game.
It's a storied moment, not just for Essendon, but for the game itself, with Dustin Fletcher reaching this, the rarest of rare milestones, and the eras of the Essendon Football Club combining. Tim Hodges for us down on the MCG. Up in the box with me is Adam White. Whitey, good evening.
G'day, Jared. It is a very special night to be at the football. And I remember Dustin Fletcher in his first year choosing to play school football rather than take on Fitzroy on a Friday night at the MCG. It seems like about 50 years ago. He's still playing AFL football.
Well, he's been a veteran for more than a decade now, and he still goes. Lenny Hayes, your first time at a Dreamtime. This will be a big affair. Welcome.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah, really looking forward to this game. But what a fantastic achievement. Dustin Fletcher, I mean, to still be playing is extraordinary. And I think there's a stat throughout the week that some of his early opponents, he's now playing against probably 5 of their sons. So it's a remarkable achievement to still be playing and getting the 400 games up. And yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a tight contest tonight.
How young are you?
I'm 35.
Oh, you gave it up way too early.
He's
5 good years left. No, he is quite remarkable. And Adam Ramanauskas has made the run up the stairs from the Guard of Honour to be with us. Rama, what was it like to be down there?
Oh, look, it was fantastic, and so deserving of the man. He's probably the most humble person I've met in my time in football, and he just loves the football club. He loves the game of AFL football, and he didn't want any of the fanfare that went along with it tonight. And we're in there before the game to present him his jumper. He only wanted a small gathering, and his words were, "Look, this is all fantastic, but most importantly, let's get the win tonight." So that's Fletch the man, and great family, great Essendon person, and just really happy that I can be a small part of it here tonight.
So there are especially minted jumpers, there's wine.
You name it. You name it. The whole range is out there, Jared. So it's good. And look, and what an occasion this has turned into. Dreamtime at the G. Michael Long was out on the ground there for Dustin, obviously, also. And this is just built into a magnificent occasion. And really, I suppose from Michael's perspective, it's probably been something that he's been so passionate about with the long walk, and obviously now Indigenous round for a long time, and been such a pioneer.
It's so well poised. These teams are 8 and 9th. They're 4 and 4. They're both trying to get back to some sort of form which will threaten for the finals. So the stakes could barely be higher as they go head to head.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, both teams over the last week or two have played some better football, but they haven't had the seasons that they would have liked, and they certainly see themselves as teams that should be higher on the ladder. They've both got talented teams, but it's going to be a cracking contest tonight. I think that Richmond, for me, just have the edge, but it's almost a flip of the coin. It could go either way. There's going to be some great matchups all over the field, and the midfield battle for mine is going to be really hotly contested, and Marich against Bell Chambers. There's some great matchups all over the ground.
Look, I think we probably saw both teams last week come into some type of best form. Essendon in their second half of their ball movement, but Richmond probably played the complete game last week. So what effect that has on both of these teams tonight, I just hope it's an exciting game because conditions couldn't be any more perfect. I think the blueprint, like I said, for Essendon in the second half is that ball movement, and for Richmond, it's their hardness around the contest and not relying on one particular player around that contest. They were able to get multiple numbers to win that contested football, and that's what won out against Port Adelaide last week.
There are formalities to be observed. There was a stage build on the members' wing for the earlier concert. Michael Long addressed the crowd. We'll play a little bit of that too at half-time. Now we're going to have the Welcome to Country and the National Anthems, and we're with the AFL's MC, Craig Willis.
And Essendon football clubs join together to present Dreamtime at the G. Would you now please welcome Auntie Joy Murphy-Wandon, Senior Wurundjeri Elder, to present the Managum Welcome Ceremony to Wurundjeri Country. The branches of the Managum will be offered to both coaches and captains to symbolise the custom of acceptance, permission and welcome to country by the traditional landowners and custodians of the MCG. Please welcome Auntie Joy.
Please welcome Nakaya Cad and Alashini Ross, who will invite the officials, coaches of both teams and players to take a eucalypt leaf as a symbol of welcome to Wurundjeri Country. Accepting a leaf pays respect to the spirits of our ancestors who lived on and nurtured this land for thousands of years gone by. Many people from many cultures have now walked in our ancestors' footprints. Together, we have continued the journey, and now it is our time to care for this country, for many more to walk this land. Tonight's match celebrates an 11th-year journey of the Dreamtime at the G, and we thank the Richmond and Essendon football clubs for their significant contribution. A big congratulations to Dustin Fletcher on his 400th game. We will always remember with the utmost respect our past Indigenous players. Their legacy of strength and stamina paved the way for the many that have followed, including our 72 current players who have maintained the dignity and integrity of their grandfathers, fathers, uncles and brothers. We also acknowledge the many friendships of fellow players supported by their clubs to once again have all 18 teams wearing Aboriginal and Islander designed jumpers. From the heart of Wurundjeri Country and all the Aboriginal and Islander nations, our thanks to all involved for your commitment and to you, the supporters, for your attendance. Good luck to both teams. Stand tall and be proud of who you are. Waminjaka.
Thank you, Auntie Joy. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the match.
So Richmond and Essendon players drift away for the last of the warm-ups. So just a quick snapshot. How will it be won and lost? How will these two teams be separated? Adam Ramanaskas?
Look, I think for Essendon, it's their forward structure. It hasn't been working that well. It clicked into gear last week, but I think it's that ball movement through the middle of the ground and allowing their taller forwards to get enough looks. And that's the most important thing. Essendon have a tendency to play around with the football through the middle of the ground. I think in the second half last week they saw the result of quick ball movement and getting it into Joe Danaher and allowing him to do his work. From a Richmond side of things, Len, I think it's probably that contested football that's really a barometer for their football club.
Yeah, it is. When they're playing well, they're not the best tackling side in the competition, but when they play well and when they win, they out-tackle their opposition. So they're certainly not in the top 2 or 3, but they need to do that. And they need to get their hands on the football. But some of their better players are in good form. You know, that win a couple of weeks ago did wonders for guys like Trent Cotchin, you know, having Delidio back in the side. They all got some form over the last couple of weeks. I think for Essendon and for mine, they need to work out a way to get their hands on the footy around the stoppages as well. Like, their numbers compared to last year are terrible. I think they're ranked almost 18th in the competition for clearance work, and I think Paddy Ryder not being in the team is a big reason for that. So for me, Tommy Bell-Chambers has got a massive job on Ivan Marrick. Ivan Marrick almost averages 5 clearances himself, so that's going to be a huge area where they're going to need to, you know, match it with Richmond and even try and get on top.
And it's almost like Essendon now are probably setting up behind the football to almost lose that contest. Cale Hooker's one of the best intercept mark players and possession winners in that part of the ground in the AFL competition. So for mine, I agree. I think they need to be winning that contest, because you can't survive like that as a football team. As good as they are, Hurley, Fletcher and Hooker as defenders, and even Hibbert last week was very good. You can't allow that quick ball movement and those one-on-one contests coming into your forward line time after time. So it's got to be the work of Watson and Goddard and Heppel through those clearance and stoppage situations to win that football, because the damn wall will just break if those players get too many looks at it.
Tim Hodges down on the boundary for us. Tim?
What a great moment for Dustin Fletcher, getting to toss the coin for the Bombers, and he's had some joy. Essendon will kick to the City end to start this match. Just a huge crowd and an amazing atmosphere. A handful of tickets was all that remained for tonight's game, and MCC members who traditionally don't turn up have turned up en masse. Just a massive crowd. I would think up towards 85,000, Jared. This is an event for so many reasons. The sub for the Tigers, Brandon Ellis; for the Bombers, Martin Gleeson. And I've also been out on the ground for Dustin Fletcher coming out. The ground is very slippery. It will be a hot tempo early, so I feel it will be pretty messy early on, guys.
And Tim, a tip and a margin. We've got a Fletch 400 bottle of wine, which nearest the bin will take away. You go first.
The Bombers by 2 goals for me, Jared.
Whitey?
Essendon by 26.
Rammer?
Essendon by 15.
Lenny?
Richmond by 14.
I'll take Richmond by 3. Looking for the thriller at Dreamtime at the G. So they all head off to their positions with more than 80,000 in, and some is just having a look at the back of the members stand that has filled up in the last half hour or so. So this is a crowd that might have a 9 in front of it. It's a tremendous spectacle, a heaving MCG. Dustin Fletcher in his 400th game. It's dream time at the G. You're with Adam White on Grandstand AFL.
And Bell-Chambers wins the tap down decisively to Watson, who kicks in the 50. Juggling effort by Carlisle, not paid 40 metres from goal. And at the drop, it's under a pack of players and it'll be thrown up. Essendon to the City end, Richmond to the punt road end. Thrown up, no one won it down. They dive in on top of it again. It comes out Richmond's way, only momentarily with Flostone. He lost it. So many players around the contest. Comes to Hibbert of Essendon, kicks to full forward. Awkward bounce there for the Bomber forwards. Rance goes in there for the Tigers. Got a handball away as he was tackled. Now with Delidio in the back pocket. He feeds a handball to Martin and he clears for the Tigers.
Yeah, it was almost a torp around the wing when it pitched. It turned at a right angle and goes out of play. Fletcher's on Griffiths. They head down toward the Richmond forward line. Hooker's the deepest option down there. At the throw-in, Watson goes third man up, straight down to Heppel, puts the Bombers up to the 50. High ball, Richmond have numbers at it. Grimes decides to punch instead of mark. It didn't work. Straight to Goddard, off to Heppel, missed the target. Coming through is Martin. He kicks out across half-back, and low down, taking the mark there is McBean.
He kicks up towards half forward. It's a flat kick. Edwards got a bit of a bad bounce trying to trap it. Couldn't do so. It comes out Essendon's way. Stanton kicks to the southern wing. Chapman marks in a bit of space. Lateral ball to the logo to Hooker. Southern side. Shaped to kick inboard, instead gave the handball to Heppel. Heppel kicks towards half forward. A galloping Carlisle comes out and takes the mark. Left half forward for the Bombers. Chaplin sits on top of him to make sure he can't go quickly. Carlisle, when he was on his knees, gave the handball to Chapman inside the 50. No marks taken. At the front was Cooney. Got a handball out as he sort of fell to the ground. Now they all jump in on top. It'll be thrown up 40 metres from Essendon's goal at centre half forward.
Rance has got the job on Danaher, boys.
They back away to the goal square. 30 metres from where this ball up takes place. Bell Chambers knocked it out the side. Melksham is onto it, didn't get much on his kick. It wobbles away. It was touched off the boot. Intercepted by Flostone for the Tigers. Kicks around the southern side. But it's been intercepted for the Bombers there by Bagley. They get a fresh look. They've monopolised field position at the very least. Bagley kicks to a pack of about 9. They fly. Chapman emerges with it, gets it onto the left boot. It's left of the target though, and it rolls harmlessly away and out of play.
Nearly 3 minutes, no score. At this point, deep in the left forward pocket for Essendon. Ball gets thrown in. One down by Bell Chambers. Deep in the pocket, Melksham flying shot misses to the left, on his left, from virtually on the boundary line. So it's the first score, it's a behind to the Bombers.
Short kick in is a safe one. Dustin Martin, he looks to go around the southern side. He liked the look of Delidio. It hangs in the air a long time. Melksham gets there to make the spoil. They charge on after the loose footy. Cochin was down without it. He'll rise with a free kick. Bagley will want to be careful he doesn't kick it away. And passes it back to Cochin. The Tigers fall to the middle for the first time. Edwards has made good space. He marks 65 from goal. He gets knocked over as he kicked it. The umpire keeps his peace and the ball flops into the arms of Hooker.
He goes short into Hurley, who's in the defensive goal square. He looks up. Stanton is the only option. Has to be a good kick. Terrific work there by Brandon Ellis just to get a hand in there to make sure Stanton couldn't mark. And the ball goes out of play between wing and half forward left for Richmond. Tim.
For the second week in a row, Whitey James Hird coaching from down on the sidelines. He's not sitting down, he's up standing. On how he would love to run out on the ground. He looks like he's ready to get an interchange and come onto the ground with his old teammate Dustin Fletcher.
He looks like an NBA basketball coach, the way he's coaching from the boundary. Essendon get a kick to the members' wing, but it's chopped off by Grimes. His handball missed Batchelor. Essendon come up with it. Howlett's handball stolen by Chaplin. And Chaplin's kick is good. And a mark to Griffiths. 2 good kicks out from goal. Griffiths kicks to full forward. A revolt comes out and marks it. 40 from goal.
Well, it's just a costly turnover by the Bombers right on centre wing. And it just allows Rewalt just too much space. You look at Essendon's early entries inside 50, it's all been to a contested situation. Rewalt had acres of space to work in there. The kicks are spot on. There's no defender can stop that.
Michael Hurley standing the mark at about 38 metres. Rewalt is left of centre. He'll cut through the 50, painted on the turf in blue. Here's the kick. It's a little ride, it's coming back, it's good enough. Richmond with the first goal of the night to Jack Rewalt. The Tigers 1 straight 6. Essendon are behind after 5 minutes of footy.
That's going to be the key for Richmond tonight as well. If they can get the ball in quickly, it's not going to allow the Essendon players to roll off and get back. On that occasion, Bagley tried to get there, but because of the turnover, he was just caught out of position. So it's going to be a key for Richmond just to be able to move the ball quickly and get it forward to one-on-ones.
Lenny Hayes on grandstand to AFL. The Tigers get the first. They got smacked mercilessly on this night last year. The most exposing 50-point defeat. What they amount to this season might rest a little in how they fare this evening. Marich wins it down to Martin. He kicks it out to the southern wing. It bounced past Goddard, gets to Menadou. He delivers inside the 50 for Richmond. He put it wide of McBean, who had no play, and it's out of bounds, 50 from goal. The newbies involved there. Menadou's playing his 3rd game and Liam McBean in for his 2nd. At the throw-in, Marich took front position, knocked it goal side of the pack. Goddard is there though to see it out of danger and back over the boundary. All players in one half of the ground. Richmond pushing from the stoppage to see if they can come up with a 2nd goal. Bell Chambers won the tap. Delidio had it for a moment. Miles took a play at it. Grigg tried to release it. Watson got it. He was dragged down. Ball still in motion. Delidio gets it onto his boot. It finds a step or two of space. Can anyone make anything of it? Martin goes and gets it. Bagley goes and gets him. Melksham emerges with it.
He kicks an ambitious kick, but it'll work out okay here because the bounce is good. And away goes Jackson Merritt. He's on the members' wing. He looks up and goes inboard to Ambrose, who slides in and marks on his knees. Front right corner of the square. The kick up towards Danaher. Good spoil from Rance as they both had a bit of a dive at the footy. And the spoil from Rance finds the boundary at the 50. Right half forward for the Bombers. Up to 7 minutes in the opening term. With Richmond a goal, Essendon are behind. Thrown in. Bell Chambers takes it out of the ruck, but he's infringed. Or is it an Essendon free kick? No, the umpire pointed the wrong way. It is going Richmond's way. Ivan Maric to take it at defensive 50.
Probe it in short. Hunt marks, wheels out across the face of goal. So he's committed to the southern side. He's taken a bounce. He's not absolutely sure. But by the time he kicked, it worked, and Rance marked it, and he was falling. He dished it off to Hooley, who gives it to Rebolt. Kicks into the 50, and Cochin on the lead, well clear of his man.
Well, you love that ball movement. Firstly, Alex Rance going back with courage to take the mark, but get the ball on quickly. It exposes any defence in the AFL. I love Trent Cochin going to full forward to rest. He looks like he is a genuine forward when he is down there. Instead of taking him off the ground, you leave your best player on, and hopefully now they get the result with a goal.
The skipper was instrumental in dragging the Tigers back to form on this ground a couple of weeks ago. From 45 metres out, he sets an early tone again. The Tigers with the first two. 2 straight to 1 behind after 8.5 minutes.
What's happening early in this game is Richmond's midfielders are getting back quite hard defensively, and that's clogging up Essendon's ball movement when they're trying to take the ball inside 50. The kick from Ambrose to Danaher was the wrong kick and it was an easy spoil for Rance. On the other hand, Essendon's mids aren't pushing back defensively hard enough now, because that's 2 uncontested marks really for the Tigers going inside their forward 50. So it's something I think that the Essendon midfield needs to look at. They can't get too deep with their run going forward.
Dustin Martin 4 disposals, Trent Cochin 3 for Richmond. So 2 key playmakers getting plenty of the footy early. From the bounce in the middle, it will come out Richmond's way. Brandon Ellis, defensive handball to Grimes. A searing ball forward to the wing. There will be front on contact. Free kick to Richmond. So that'll go to Manadou for the Tigers, forward to the southern wing. And he'll go out wide to Brandon Ellis, who kept running and presenting with a short ball. So he's out near the boundary. He'll go short as well to Delidio. He's at right half forward, too far out to score. He goes with a short pass, well read there by Hooker, got the spoil in. At the drop was Heppel, gave the handball to Hibbard. He kicks towards the wing, it's a bouncing foot. He made it hard for Carlisle, who at least created a contest. The ball now in dispute on the southern wing as it comes up Essendon's way.
It popped out to Dempsey, who worked it around to Zach Merritt. Melksham had a play. Goddard tidies up, so they mucked around with it a bit at half back, but they'll get out of it with Melksham's kick over to Stanton. Up to halfway for Zach Merritt, too much on it. Watson kept away from it, and coming onto it is Martin for the Tigers. A dicey kick inboard. Goddard almost got Menadou head high. He got the footy instead. Goddard to Heppel, backwards to Melksham. Further back now to Hibbert, who slips over under pressure from Cochin, and they cough it up. Grigg works it to Cochin. Now to Menadou. The Tigers look to take the break. Grigg got caught with it though. Great scrambling defence from the Bombers. They win it back. And Howlett laid the winning tackle.
He's in the middle of the MCG. As Tim Hodges said before the game, conditions are quite slippery.
Yeah, and players are already slipping over, so that's unforgivable. Got to get your footwear right. So put the long stops in at quarter time.
They've gone out to the southern wing with Stanton. A flat ball in towards centre half forward. Good kick, and Danaher coming out, marking on his chest just inside the 50 in the corridor.
It's a great kick, just penetrating ball, so it didn't give any of the other Richmond defenders time to get off their man and try and help. And Danaher takes a nice mark, and he'd like to convert from here, just get the confidence up, get one early.
And to continue his good run of form, he kicked 6 goals last week in a real breakout performance against Brisbane. This on the big stage on a Saturday night at the MCG. The kick from just outside the 50, no, that's no good at all. That's out to the left and missing everything. Out of bounds on the full.
Nearly toppled over it as he kicked it. Richmond by 11. Danaher coming off 6 last week. Chaplin on the kick in. It's not his best effort. Dempsey nips in to take the mark. He's been called to play on after stepping inside the boundary line. It's a high ball into the pocket. Carlisle with great purpose into the pack. Hugs it to his chest.
I think that's the matchup that Essendon need to go at. Carlisle and Chaplin. Carlisle's will be far too agile for my liking for Chaplin. So isolation, I think, early in this game for Carlisle against Chaplin, I think could really result in a few goals for the Bombers.
He's got off him a couple of times early, just got that couple of metres split.
Tight angle in the left forward pockets. Jake Carlisle stays on a line to goal. He's got it near side. Couple of behinds for Essendon, a couple of goals for Richmond after 13 minutes.
The Tigers come the members' side. It's a long kick. Reebok caught out of position. Hurley dropped the mark and it fell to Martin. He gave the defensive handball. McIntosh kicks down the wing for the Tigers towards Morris, who tried to tap it on. Hooker there for Essendon, keeps it in front of himself, then slips over. Morris did as well. Dempsey, did he keep it in? No, he didn't. He thought he did. But the boundary umpire said it was out of play, so it'll be thrown in 60 around from Richmond's goal. Left half forward for the Tigers. Ball gets thrown in front of the Olympic stand. It's a good throw-in, long throw-in. One down by the Tigers. Miles had his handball intercepted. Pepper was there. His handball also intercepted. Watson comes in through the traffic, just barges through. Tumbles a footy towards the members' wing. Sits up for Chaplin. Oh, it's been stolen by Carlisle. He gets the handball to Collier. Collier has to go defensive with the handball to Goddard. This kick has to find Carlisle. He's running back towards goal. It's bouncing. He picks it up and he goes. From the line. Essendon's first. 1-2-8. Richmond 2 goals, 14 minutes played opening term.
Oh, it's just good, really good play by Carlisle to firstly be able to affect the turnover from a Richmond point of view. And the kick from Goddard was perfect because, look, it didn't hit the target necessarily, but it was out in front of Carlisle and just allowed him to run on that football easy. Chaplin couldn't go with him. Once Carlisle turned back to run to the goal square, Chaplin wasn't inside.
Given that the inside 50s are running 6-4 Essendon's way, they needed that. They needed that first goal. And Chaplin was still face down on the turf on the members' wing when Carlisle was running into goal. Marich down to Edwards, off to Koch, and clean out of the middle by the Tigers. Wide to the 50, it pitches on its point. Martin knocks it inboard. Hibberd was grabbed without it by Griffiths. That's pretty unsophisticated. And it gives away the free kick.
Where Essendon have also started well, Jared, they're 8-4 in clearances. So Len mentioned that before the game, being a bit of an Achilles heel. They've started well in that area.
Hibberd's going to kick it out around the members' wing. Chapman set himself cleared off the shins, basically, of Chaplin. It rolls out at the interchange gates.
Well, it's 3 to Melksham, 3 to Watson. Out of the 8 clearances. The ball gets thrown in members' wing, as Jared said. Marich wins the tap down. Chapman had a look, kicked it off the ground towards half forward. Ambrose there against Chaplin. Ambrose got Chaplin out of the way and got a handball to Zach Merritt. He kicks a high ball again inside 50 with forwards running back towards goal. Getting first there was Vostone, who was able to usher it through for a rush behind. Essendon 1-3. Richmond 2 goals after 16.
Kick-in's a good one. Grigg has found space, 40 from the defensive goal. He wants to go quickly through centre half back for Grimes. Hawley's running into the middle. Grigg offers short again. Back edge of the centre square. Griffiths comes up on the lead to halfway. Precise movement from the Tigers so far. Morris is trying to open the field up at half forward. It's a bouncing ball. It clears him. It's edged away by Hibberd, and he does make the interception for the Bombers. He's confronted, so sideways to Bell Chambers. He squeezes out a kick. It's an ordinary old effort. Flostone was almost beaten by the bounce. He trapped it, paddled it, hand passes it backwards. Rance has got to be quick. Cooney almost got him. Now to Flostone. Tackled by Zach Merritt. Dispossessed, holding the ball.
Great
Good
pressure.
win for Essendon.
He's forward of the members' wing. He kicks on his left up towards full forward. Juggling mark to Howitz.
They've looked really dangerous, Essendon, going back towards goal. They're getting in behind the Richmond defence at the moment, and they're looking really... So bringing up a couple of half forwards and then getting them on the way back, they're just looking like they're playing with a bit more speed and just trying to test those Richmond defenders going back towards goal.
And they've done it 3 or 4 times, Lenny, haven't they already? It's like the wide receivers in the NFL just getting back into dangerous areas. Howlett, he's only 30 metres from goal right of centre, has a chance for 2 in a row for the Bombers. The kick is missing to the right. Another let off for the Tigers, so Essendon 1-4-10, Richmond 2 straight 12 after 17 minutes.
Chaplin and Rance need to be aware of that now. They can't get out. They can't get too far outside forward 50. Both Danaher and Carlisle doing a great job at sucking them up the field.
Hawley played on from the kick in, had a bounce, went long around the members' wing where Griffith stood in front of the pack and takes the mark. They threatened from the previous kick in, Richmond. Griffiths will get this up to half forward. Martin takes the set. He pushed in the back. He gets away with it. He removed Bagley from the contest. Kicks out into the pocket. Awkward ball. McBean's back after it. Fletcher's after him. McBean hand pass for the behind line. Fletcher, of course, he got a hand in there. He pushed it away and got it through for a rush behind. He still doesn't have a disposal, but he's up to 1,173 little edges throughout the years. I added all of those up during the week.
Now he gets a kick because he kicks it to himself and then goes long to half back, but it's going to be coming back. Griffiths marks for the Tigers, 70 metres from goal, left half forward. It is a crowded forward line as he looks up. Sort of motioning that he's going to have a shot. Surely that's not the case. I know he's a long kick, but not even Dustin Fletcher could make it from here. He's just going to pop it up like in the schoolyard and say, mark that. No one can. At the front, Martin had a little piece of it for a moment. Heppel lays a big tackle. Charging through was Chapman with the footy. He got tackled to ground. The umpire says he'll call for it. And it'll be thrown up 30 metres from Richmond's goal at the punt road end.
There should at least be the illusion that you can make the distance if you're going to go through that sort of charade. Richmond at full forward. McBean takes the tackle of Fletcher. They've got 402 games between them, that pairing. And that's a stalemate. 20 metres out from the Richmond goal. They go to the punt road end in this opening term. At the ball up, Marriage gets his hand to it. Goddard stands underneath. Marriage lays the tackle. The ball is loose. Delidio's onto it, trying to find a teammate. Cochin and Hawley nearly spoiled each other. McBean in the pack, gets it onto his boot to full forward. He clears Edwards and is punched through for a rush behind by Chapman. 2-2 to 1-4. It's Richmond by 4 points.
Goddard this time will be kicking it back into play for the Bombers. He goes short into the back pocket to Chapman. The Bombers in the grey, Richmond in the traditional black, but both teams wearing the Indigenous jumpers. Chapman goes down the line, almost a mark to Batchelor, gets to the front. Melksham, another disposal, but he's kicked it dangerously inside the centre square. It sits well for Taylor Hunt for the Tigers, gets to the front part of the square, goes extremely long, but also wrong. Yes. Straight to Hurley, who goes short to Jackson Merritt.
You were spot on. Ball on the way out finds Cooney. Jackson Merritt delivering it there. It's on the defensive 50. Almost down by 4. Cooney kicks it around the members' wing. Marriage across the front of the pack. Hawley underneath. Can't get clear of the clutches of Jackson Merritt. And it'll be balled up in front of the interchange gates. Bell Chambers trying to flip it down to Watson. Couldn't take it. Ellis working through the pack to Marriage, to Miles, to Edwards, to Ellis, to Morris. This is a good build for Richmond. Oh, the kick from Morris, though. It faded badly off the boot and it went straight to Courtney Dempsey.
Dempsey will go to Hooker as they look to work it to the southern side, but Hooker doesn't really think there's an option there that he likes. So he's going to sit back and wait. He's going to be told to play on now, so he's only got one bailout option. That's Hurley, who's deep in the left back pocket. He'll go short to Goddard. They're just little 20-metre kicks at the moment, the Bombers, trying to be patient. Now the kick to Heppel, so they've got it to defensive 50 with Heppel out on the southern side. Cooney wants it back in the corridor. Heppel doesn't like that. Carlisle leads. He's ignored. He's going to go long instead, Heppel. Towards the southern wing. Carlisle jumped back into the pack. Couldn't mark. Came back to Carlisle. Did well. Gives the handball to Watson, who gets tackled and handballs it away towards Bagley. He slipped over. McIntosh dives in for the Tigers. It's a bit scrappy at the moment out on the southern side. Heppel goes again. He loses it. Miles has a go. He's tackled. And now the umpire comes in and calls for it between wing and half forward right for the Tigers out on the southern side.
Early stages at the Adelaide Oval. Fremantle 2-1-13 to the Crows, 1 behind. That's after 7 minutes. There's a shepherding free kick in the ruck here. Marich is going to get it for the Tigers, who lead by 4. At right half forward, he sets it high in the direction of Griffiths, who set himself. Hurley made the late spoil under the pack. Bagley was taken without it. That'll be a defensive free kick for the Bombers. Stanton breaks for him. Takes the mark at right half back. Collier hasn't been in it yet. Rushes up to lead and mark. Down the line for Danaher, working defensive side of the middle. They're pretty well all manned up ahead, so it's a long kick down the line. Ambrose was called off it by Howlett, and getting in between them was Rance to get a fist in and see it out of bounds.
So they've almost got it to half forward, the Bombers, in front of the MCC members. 23 played in the opening term. Richmond's lead is 4 points, 2-2 to 1-4. It gets thrown in. Heppel was going to be third man up, but actually got blocked by his own teammate. Cooney fights on at ground level for the Bombers with Marich. It'll be thrown up. Still right half forward for Essendon. Bellchambers and Marich. Marich grabs it out of the ruck too easily. Kicks towards half forward. Griffiths caught out of position. Oh, Hooker went back with courage and copped high contact. Will get a free kick. It was in the marking contest. It wasn't crude, but it was a definite free kick. He goes in short to Heppel, who marks at the AFL logo. They're wanting to be patient here, the Bombers. They don't really want to kick to a contest if they don't have to. Heppel goes back to centre half, back to Bagley. Now wide to the southern wing. Merritt marks. Hibberd wanted it quickly. Merritt just wasn't able to quite fashion a handball to him, and as a result, he's held up on the southern wing for the Bombers at the 24-minute mark.
Taken 28 marks with their 77 disposals so far, Essendon. Stanton, he takes the next mark and unloads inside the 50. The adventurous player is the one that comes up with the goods as Carlisle leads up to take the mark.
Just reads the football really well in flight, Carlisle. You know, Rance was right next to him, lost that body contact. He's got beautiful hands, Carlisle, for a forward.
Just like to see Essendon get in there a little bit quicker. They've just been very stagnant, but they do look dangerous when they're getting it into one-on-ones. Carlisle's definitely the one who's looked most dangerous.
It's almost like watching a game of chess sometimes with Essendon. They want to always have the perfect play, and they need to take the risk of running the football.
He's less than a 50-50 proposition on the set shots, Jake Carlisle. He has the chance to put Essendon in front. 45 metres out on an angle to the left. He prods at it, gets under it. It won't even make the distance, and it hits the behind post off a boot. So it will be a little bit of a fight between Chapman and Marich in the aftermath of it.
He's given a free kick.
And Marich is going to get the free kick.
He's got a free kick there because of Chapman using his boot.
Correct. In
the marking contest. Don't usually see that. Marich kicks towards half back. It's a huge pack. Reebok was up high, couldn't mark. Griggs handball knocked down. Bagley for Essendon back inside the 50. Stanton the only chance. Marich with the spoil. They all dive in on top, 30 metres from Essendon's goal. It'll be thrown up in the right forward pocket. It's been a little messy, but at this stage it's close. We weren't sure who was going to win before the game. We're no closer to knowing. Brandon Ellis gets the handball across to Batchelor, close to the boundary. Got a bit of space. He kicks towards the members' wing. Griffiths actually spoilt that for the Tigers. Comes towards Carlisle. His handball under pressure, not good. Taken by Edwards. His handball wasn't great. Socket off the ground by Morris. Straight to Fletcher, zoning off for the Bombers. He'll kick it out on the full. It wasn't a very good kick from Dustin. To the members' wing, a free kick to Richmond.
It's not very kind of Richmond fans treating a pensioner like that. Revolt to restart play. We're inside the final minute of this opening term. He kicks to a big contest. Leaping up over the top was Griffiths. Couldn't take the mark. Edwards to Delidio. He can feed it out over the top. Grigg has got the goal front. Or McBean. He gives it to McBean, who missed his foot virtually. His kick went nowhere. He takes another swing at it, but there's a free kick. It's Essendon's way. And Liam McBean will wonder forever and a day how that ball went missing between his hand and his foot. It's Richmond by 4.
Desperate work there from Zach Merritt. He has the free kick. He's looking for Carlisle. Griffiths just comes into the pack late. Miles at the drop rushes a kick back inside the 50 into the left forward pocket where it'll be thrown in 25 around from Richmond's goal. So the Tigers kick the first 2, Essendon with the next, and that's all the business that there's been. So no goal since the 14-minute mark of this opening term. One last play left maybe for Richmond. Ball gets thrown in, Bell Chambers wins it down, here's Cochin, last kick of the corner, it's a goal! His second, and that is just pure goal for Richmond just before the first break. Richmond 3-2-20. Essendon 1-4-10 at the 27.5-minute mark, and the umpire won't even have time to bounce it.
Yeah, really disappointing there for Essendon. James Hird would be furious. I mean, you set up around stoppages like that, and to get a goal through the corridor, no body work on Cochin, probably their most dangerous clearance player, with 10 seconds to go in the quarter. Really disappointing, but great play by Richmond. Well set up, good ruck work, and a great finish.
So for all Essendon's possession, and promising through those middle stages of the term, they're 10 points down at the first change. Siren beats the ruckman to the ball at the bounce. Richmond 3-2-20 to Essendon 1-4-10. The goal kickers Cochin 2 and Revolt 1. While Jake Carlisle has the lone major for the Dons. At the Adelaide Oval, it's the Dockers 3-1-19 leading Adelaide 2 behind. So that's 13 minutes in. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC, Local Radio, Radio Australia and Grandstand Digital.
I'm Ian Mannix, ABC Manager of Emergency Broadcasting. Bushfires, floods and storms, cyclones, heat waves and even earthquakes happen every year in Australia.
We're sitting tight at the moment.
We know disasters will occur. But are you and your family prepared?
We've evacuated to our grandparents' place.
For information on the steps you can take to be prepared for disasters in your area, visit the ABC Emergency website, abc.net.au/emergency.
Grandstand AFL.
Howard's handball stolen by Chaplin, and Chaplin's kick is good, and a mark to Griffiths. 2 good kicks out from goal. Griffiths kicks the full forward, and Revolt comes out and marks it. 40 from goal. Revolt is left of centre. He'll cut through the 50, painted on the turf in blue. Here's the kick. It's a little ride, it's coming back, it's good enough.
To Hawley, who gives it to Revolt, kicks into the 50, and Cochin on the lead, well clear of his man. The skipper was instrumental in dragging the Tigers back to form on this ground a couple of weeks ago. From 45 metres out, he sets an early tone again. The Tigers with the first 2.
Sits up for Chaplin. Oh, it's been stolen by Carlisle. He gets the handball to Collier. Collier has to go defensive with the handball to Goddard. This kick has to find Carlisle. He's running back towards goal. It's bouncing. He picks it up and he goes. Ball gets thrown in. Bell Chambers wins it down. Here's Cochin. Last kick of the corner. It's a goal. And that is just pure goal for Richmond.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
It's the Tigers by 10 points at quarter time. The Dockers by 10 points over the Crows. In the NRL, the Broncos 24 beat the Raiders 12. Early stages, the Cowboys 6 lead Manly 0. In the Super Rugby, it's the Force 3 leading the Reds 0 after 16 minutes. And at the French Open, Andy Murray has taken the first set against Australia's Nick Kyrgios 6-4. Adam Ramanaskas and Lenny Hayes.
Well, I think, Essendon have started this game really well. Their tackling pressure's been up. They've had the 20 tackles compared to Richmond's 10, but they just haven't got reward for effort. And they've been a little bit slow with their ball movement, Ramo. Look, they've been happy to possess the football, but when they've looked dangerous, they've got it in quickly. They've got in behind the Richmond defence. But when Richmond have been able to slow them up, they've struggled to score. I mean, they've had a few opportunities. They've missed a few shots. And to let that last stoppage goal through would be really disappointing for James Hird. But look, overall, effort-wise, they've been pretty good, but they just need a couple of guys that can break the lines.
Well, I think what will be concerning for Essendon is the Jake Melksham, Trent Cochin matchup. Now, Cochin's only had the 5 possessions, but he's kicked the 2 goals. And Melksham was responsible for Cochin at that last stoppage. Melksham had no body contact. Melksham had the 8 possessions. for the game. But his job is to really stop Trent Cotchin. Now, for mine, Cotchin's the most effective player on the ground at the moment because he goes forward and he's kicking goals as a midfielder. Essendon need to play the game with more dare. That's what I think would be most pressing for James Hird at the moment. Richmond are doing a really, really good job at getting those numbers back and just clogging up Essendon's forward line. You look at the inside 50s now is Richmond's way 12 to 10, but Essendon's forward 50 entries have been shallow. They need to get those. They need to get that football deeper into it. If that ball does hit the ground, they allow that forward pressure. I'm loving the way Richmond are setting up their forward line. A lot of space. They're making Hurley. They're making Hooker defend one-on-one. Both those guys like to lay off their opponents and come and help out their teammate. But you watch there, Rewalt is trying to drag Hooker up the ground to get him away from that defensive 50, and vice versa at the other end. Carlisle and Danaher are trying to do that also to Rance and Chaplin. So look, the match is very much evenly poised. Yes, Richmond have got a 10-point lead, but I think both teams will be reasonably happy with that first quarter.
Tim Hodges, how is it downstairs on a thumping good night at the G?
Yeah, and it's very rare you see the MCC members as full as it is, Jared. It's right to the interchange, which you really only see on Anzac Day and Grand Final Day. Just watching the Essendon players come to the bench to start the second term. Very interesting to see Cooney, Watson and Stanton all starting on the Pine. So 3 of their premier midfielders all starting on the bench for the second term, guys.
Okay, just looking at the stats to quarter time, there's not a lot in the overall stats except for marks, which Essendon leads 30-17 because of the game style. Tackles Essendon 20 to Richmond 11. Individually for the Tigers, Martin, Deledio 7. No one better than that. And for Essendon, Melksham has 8. Heppel and Carlisle have 7 each. But quite a few of the key playmakers for both teams a little bit down on numbers to quarter time.
So the umpire holds us in suspense to begin the second term while the scoreboard games are being played. Players mill about and wait. Richmond 3-2-20 to Essendon 1-4-10 at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows have kicked a couple in a row, so they've pegged Fremantle back to 4 points. The Dockers 3-1-19 to the Crows 2-3-15. That's the siren for the second term. Richmond to the city end. Bounce to begin the quarter. Bell Chambers probably won the tap. Marich laid the tackle, jarred the footy loose. Off the ground went Miles. Collier and Melksham almost knocked each other over. Zach Merritt gathers and he kicks Essendon up to the 50. Grimes was trying to outmuscle Ambrose. At least he got a fist in there. Chapman's caught over the footy. Batchelor ties him up and the umpire charges in to ball it up. On the digits of 50. Bell Chambers cleanly down to Chapman, fires out the kick up near the teeth of goal. Rance got clean bowled by it. Carlisle picks it off in the tackle of Rance. He tried to get it to his boot and failed. Cotchin feeds a hand pass out the back. I reckon he got some high contact and the advantage paid. Chaplin through Alice and Rance and now to Batchelor, who'll play the southern side, and a well-weighted ball is marked by Menadou.
So Menadou will centre it up towards Taylor Hunt, who marks it, but was behind him. He had to go back quickly to get it, and then he goes short straight up the middle to Marich, back part of the square for the Tigers. You go to the southern side. He wants Revolt. Hurley there with a spoil. Bagley at ground level gets knocked over there by Batchelor. Good work there. Essendon do definitely have the numbers on the southern wing, and it comes out Essendon's way. Bagley now on the charge. Got it once and then got it back again. Handles over the top to Howlett. Has to go to Goddard by hand. Now Goddard to Heppel. Pokes the kick into the pocket. Nice vision. And Chapman gets hit hard and late and high and will get a free kick in the pocket. He's down, holding his head. Danaher not happy with Chaplin. And Chaplin came front on. An obvious free kick, but no 50. The vision there from Heppel was excellent.
Excellent, yeah. I think all Richmond defenders thought Heppel was would take the shot at goal, but just pulled that kick late. Heppel's not a long kick, so I think he would have probably struggled to make that distance even from 50 metres out.
Chapman only 30 metres out, but he is only 10 metres in from the boundary in the right forward pocket to the punt road end. He's gathered his thoughts, he's gone for goal, and he's hit the post. The right-hand goal post, almost near the top. Essendon 1-5-11, Richmond 3-2-20. 2 minutes played, second quarter.
It's wobbling almost as much as Chapman was. After the heavy hit, Grigg leads up to mark the kick in. And feeds the hand pass back to Flostone, who kicks along the members' wing. Up went McBean, didn't take the mark. Marriage is doing the crumbing. Feeds it off to Cochin and Ellis and Marriage. And back to Cochin. He missed the target. They would have been away. Bagley fumbles and it's still there to be won. Ambrose and Cochin scrap. The ball spilled out the side. The umpire was actually on the blind side of the pack. And he's blown the whistle. It's been tossed up on the members' wing. Bell Chambers pats it out the back. Melksham has a fling at it. It didn't go far. Delidio pulls it down. He's in the tackle of Zach Merritt. Heppel works his way through. Onto the right boot. Up to half forward. Chapman it landed as a half volley. He knocked it to Ambrose. High looking for Carlisle. He ran with the flight. He was dumped by Rance. It's a free kick to the forward.
It's a free kick or a mark, definitely to Carlisle. It's good vision again, at this time by Ambrose. Pulled the kick. Just put it into space for Carlisle to run onto it.
It's that same play again, though, Rammer. The quick kick out of the stoppage and then just beating them back to the fall of the ball. So that's where they've looked most dangerous, especially this guy, Jake Carlisle, is playing a really good game for Essendon tonight.
Everything bar the set shot kicking is on for Carlisle. He gets another tester from 48. He's hit this a little better. It's hit the left-hand post. 2 behinds and 1 which went right across the face from his 3 set shots. His 1 goal was on the run. It's Richmond by 8 points.
Hooley will be the man to bring it back into play for Richmond. He'll go short to Martin in the back pocket. Martin wants to take Danaher on the mark. He runs about 10 metres, then kicks it about 50. Hooker best place to mark couldn't because the spell came from Griffith straight down to Edwards. Edwards long towards McBean against Fletcher. McBean used the body well but couldn't mark it, and then Fletcher just controls the bouncing ball beautifully and then kicks into the corridor to Bagley, who has it back part of the square, but again Essendon don't go quickly. Instead Bagley goes extremely wide out towards Jackson Merritt. He takes it on the bounce. Inboard handball to Hibberd. Southern wing, he's confronted. He's got to go backwards. He does that to Hurley, who marks it defensive 50 for Essendon.
Hurley has a look around, left, right and centre. Cooney's really the only one working for him. It'll gain 25 metres but wider still to the boundary. Not a lot of movement up ahead. So he tried to lay it off short and Menadou saw that coming. He jumped in front of Goddard, made the spoil and put it into the stands.
Yeah, they needed to switch on that occasion, Gerard. They had the extra number out this side, but what they didn't do, they didn't spread the Richmond forwards to try and work the ball out and across.
It's the Tigers by 8, thrown in on the southern side. Marriage wins it down to Cochin, off to Ellis, now to Menadou, and off to Martin, who runs a beeline into the middle of the ground and kicks across the 50. Out came McBean, spoiled by Fletcher. McBean's good to recover though. Hand pass to Hunt, his kick is smothered by Dempsey, who threatens to steal this. He paddles around the wing, Hunter's got to stay with him. He does. Dempsey works the hand pass to Zach Merritt, who's dragged down by Martin. Ball is loose on the wing. Hunt has another go for the Tigers. Limp hand pass, picked off by Stanton. Works it up to the 50. It's a scrambly old ball. Danaher paddled it for Watson. He missed him. Coming the other way was Cooney. Off to Stanton. Down to Zach Merritt. Inboard for Chapman. He's got one more. Watson, he couldn't get it there. He wheels out onto the left. He goes for Watson now and kicks it out of bounds on the full. Oh, get a lot of chances. Frittering them away, the Bombers.
Yeah, Carlo was alone in the goal square and Chapman just didn't see him. Hooley for the Tigers in the back pocket. Down the line towards half back. Oh, Edwards in the pack. Good mark for the Tigers. He's at right half back near the boundary. Richmond going the members' side. Little 45-degree kick into Griffiths, who takes it still at half back. It's a crowded midfield. Goes short to Flostone. Again, just a 20-metre ball, so Richmond still, members' side, still behind the wing. 7 minutes played in the second term. And it's still Richmond by 8 points. Short into Cochin. Cochin's kick had to be precise to Griffiths. Couldn't mark. Heppel comes up with it. Handballs to Goddard, to Stanton, to Howlett. All handballs. Handball to Goddard. Now to Hooker. Now they're working better here. Hooker, short pass to Hibbert. Wide sweeping handball to the southern side to Hurley. He'll now handball into the path of Bagley. Got a bad bounce. Has to retreat. Handballs backwards on the turf to Hurley. Defensive handball to Goddard. Goddard goes with the outside of his boot. Clever kick. Oh, Chapman dropped it on his chest low down. And Brandon Ellis mops it up for the Tigers.
Dear me. Hand pass to Delidio. Kicks around the wing. McBean leads up and takes the mark, sliding in. He gives it back to Delidio. Kicks up to the centre-half forward position for Edwards. Edwards has got 3 deep targets. He's going to use it shallow instead, and well, and Grigg takes the mark, 45 from the target.
Really good pressure by Richmond on that outer side wing, but Essendon, they just overpossess the football too much. They need to get the football inside their forward 50 quicker, because this is the result. The ball turns over and there's just so much space for Richmond Falls to work in.
8 goalless minutes at the start of this second term. That can all be changed by Sean Grigg. From 49 metres out, the left foot drop punt. It's not quite going to have enough on it. And off hands, it's through for a rushed behind. Richmond by 9 at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows have hit the front late in the first term. They lead by 2 points.
Goddard goes in short to Hibbert, who played on and under pressure found Danaher at halfback. So they've done that quickly, Essendon. It's now the next one. It's a short ball back into Hibbert at defensive 50. And you can just feel the crowd just getting a little restless here with Essendon. Hibbert's gone back to fullback to Goddard, who goes to Hurley into the right back pocket. They have got one out on the southern wing if they can find him. Bagley's marked it. Oh, he decided to play on. He got tackled holding the ball. I think the Bombers knew that they had that loose player out on the southern wing. They just couldn't get it there. Great work from McIntosh to effect the tackle, and he's got the free kick. 60 from goal. He's panicking a little bit as well. Now he finds a loose player. It's Edwards, who darts out and marks on his chest.
It's good patience there by McIntosh. It was Goddard who was on Edwards there, but just got caught up in a little bit of a block. Deeper inside 50. It was nice forward play by the Richmond players there.
Shane Edwards has already had 9 disposals. He's out at left half forward. He'll have to kick it about 45 metres from goal from the southern side to the city end. Leans back on it, doesn't like it, and it's out to the left. And another behind. Both teams wasting opportunities here. Richmond 3-4-22, Essendon 1-6-12, 10 played second term.
Fletcher on the kick in. Dabs into the back pocket for Hibbert. He'll clear the defensive 50. That's not a good kick though. Griffiths has the drop here. He takes the mark in front of Bell Chambers. So Ben Griffiths at right half forward for Richmond. There's a massive bodies near the goal square. He's pulled the kick and his effort was no better. Oh, Carlisle dropped an absolute sitter. Heppel saves him and he blushes though. Gets it to Collier, off to Melksham, and now to Cooney, who kicks out the southern side. Mark taken by Jackson Merritt, who thumps it up towards the 50. Stanton was the target. Rance in front of him overran it. Rance trying to recover it. He ended up tripping Stanton, and that's how the umpire saw it. Stanton's ball 60 from goal, out on the boundary. He'll set it up into the hot spot. A few change direction. Menadou led up to it, couldn't take the mark in defence. Morris got hit high and then low and got wrapped up, and the umpire's going to ball it up. 35 out from the Essendon goal.
Looks like a lot of players still slipping.
Joe Watson, that's the third time this quarter he's slipped over.
Bell Chambers taps it down. Howlett has it. He's tackled to ground. Just a lot of players just seem to be second-guessing themselves, wearing slicks on a wet night on the roads. Thrown up. Marich taps it straight to the face of Bell Chambers. Ricochets to Carlisle. Under pressure. Got a handball to Cooney. Cooney's flying shot at goal is out to the right and missing everything. Tim Hodges.
Whitey, Ben Griffiths has come off. He hobbled off with a hip injury. He spoke to the doctor and the physio. They both shook their head and he's gone straight down into the room. So Ben Griffiths into the Tiger room's real concern there.
It's not a great sign at all. Hurley kicks long on the way out. The Tigers are able to make something of it. McBean got it up to halfway. Hurley cut it off. Hand pass to Hooker. They were all pursuing him. He changes direction safely and gives it off to Stanton, who kicked around the corner. It's a rainmaker. McBean knocked Fletcher over. That's legal, the umpire said. McBean took the mark and he works it up the line to Grigg. It's a game that's utterly lost its flow from the middle stages of the first term. We've had 12.5 goalless minutes of this second quarter now. The Tigers fiddle with it on the wing. Grigg and McIntosh gets caught by Collier. Essendon forces the turnover. Cooney missed Goddard though. And that moment passes as well. Goddard's over the footy. He's wrapped up. He'd be lucky if he didn't get knocked off. He is lucky. It's going to be balled up instead.
They're out, the Bombers. Goddard just had to take that football, and he had Danaher in space inside forward 50.
It's a lot of their senior players that are making elementary mistakes at the moment. From the throw up, Cooney out of the congestion. Kick didn't go anywhere. Collier comes onto it, gives the handball to Cooney. He's confronted, so has to kick quickly. Another ordinary kick. Glustone takes it on the bounce. Gave a handball away. Hunt breaks the tackle, gets a handball. The tackle was high. It'll be a free kick going back to Taylor Hunt. Out on the boundary at half-back southern side. Short defensive pass to Ellis. So they're back at defensive 50, Richmond. He goes with a short ball to Taylor Hunt, who's almost in the corridor. He's wanting to go wide, and he does that. Another 20-metre ball. It's Richmond's turn to just hold possession for the moment with McIntosh. Left half-back southern side. Up to nearly the 14-minute mark of the second term, we still haven't had a goal. McIntosh goes long to a contest. Bell-Chambers edges out. Marich legally. He'll take the mark and the resulting kick on the southern wing for Essendon.
Such a stop-start game of football at the moment. Both teams just not prepared to take any risk.
Bell-Chambers kicked a half forward. Goddard came out strongly. Takes the mark. He's 60 out from goal. He's going to lob this up to the square. Ambrose has come from the bench to leap. He all got hands to it, couldn't quite mark. Hand pass comes out to Zach Merritt, who didn't get enough on the kick. And it's punched through for a rush behind by the scrambling Tiger defence. They lead by 9. It's quarter time at the Adelaide Oval. The Crows by 3 over the Dockers. 3-4 to 3-1.
Hawley goes right down the middle, inside the centre square, and Grigg marks and immediately plays on. This is quick ball movement. The kick towards centre half forward. Deledio stands underneath it and marks as Hooker came acrobatically late. Deledio still took the mark. Now kicks to Revolt, who comes out and marks at 45 from goal, straight in front.
And that's the difference, boys, when you actually get quick ball movement and you can penetrate a little bit, you get one-on-ones, you get a lot of space, and Jack Riewoldt just had 30 or 40 metres of space there, just a duck-back lead, and Deledio hit him on the chest. So it's really good play by Richmond, but very frustrating for Essendon. The game's been played almost in a half of the ground. It's been so congested, so compact, that it was actually nice to see Richmond penetrate and get out there.
Will this be the first goal of the second quarter? Jack Revolt to the city end, straight in front from 48 metres. Oh, it's a little left. It's missed. It's close, but it's missed. Richmond 3-5-23. Essendon 1-7-13. There could be 85,000 here at the moment. They're not seeing a great game, Jared.
No, not at the time for the time being. Hooker marked the kick in. He goes down the line, and Carlisle up over the pack to take the mark. He hand passes to Fletcher, who works it on to Danaher. Right on the boundary. Ran out of space. Ran out of time. He's mugged. He loses it. Grimes brings it away for Richmond. Up to Griffiths. Back to Grimes. It didn't quite pan out. They were trying to draw Hibbert away from the footy. Hibbert was too smart. He gets up hobbling, but he did his job and he got it out of play. Right half forward for Richmond. 3 behinds apiece in this second term. Miles and Heppel go at it after the throw in. Oh, the umpire's paid holding the ball against Miles for dragging it in. So Heppel rises with it. Dabs it down the line for Jackson Merritt. Puts it onto the right boot. Carlisle's his target. Rance works him underneath. Chapman got a bad bounce. Carlisle trying to tap it to his own advantage. Rance stayed with him. Got it to Martin. The Tigers are open through half-back.
And they go to Morris. Oh, he's not quick enough. Good tackle from Bagley. He's lost it. The umpire will throw it up. Tim, what's the latest on Ben Griffiths?
Ben Griffiths is back on the ground. He looks like he's struggling with an almighty corky. Lenny and Rama can probably tell you more about just how difficult that must be for him to keep on running at the moment with a corky the size of the one he's got.
Goddard was third man up, tapped it away from the congestion, but then the cavalry arrived, landed on the footy, and will be thrown up again closer to the members' wing. 17 and a half goalless minutes to this point.
Make your own fun at the G.
Yes, it's a bit like that. Griffiths taps it down. Zach Merritt, quick kick inside the 50 for Essendon. There's holding. It's going against Danaher. Chaplin to take the free kick for the Tigers.
What's on at half-time tonight? Across the face of goal to Batchelor. On the way out, he's seen McIntosh. They'll try the southern side, the Tigers. Hooley runs up ahead of the play. The dinking kick is good enough. Oh, Hooley dropped the mark. He had 2 bites at it and it fell out of his mitts.
This is keeping with the way Essendon and Richmond play their football.
Yes, yeah, I suppose it's 8
They
versus 9.
agitate their own fans.
What a curious term. At the throw-in, Cooney gets hold of it right on centre wing. Kicks the Bombers to half-forward. Jackson Merritt takes a good mark. He's got Danaher leaning out into the pocket. That's where the kick goes. Danaher had a play at it. It broke through his fingers. Hunt in defence, gives it to Rance. Kicks across the face of goal for Floston. The Tigers have got this set up well on the way out. Delidio receives the hand pass. Going with him is Ellis. He loops it up over the top and Ellis crosses halfway. He has a bounce. Bagley provides the honest chase. Kick inside the 50s. Not up to scratch though. And Goddard takes the mark unopposed.
That was terrific by Bagley. Never gave up on that chase. Ellis thought he had a little bit more space and that forced the turnover.
Goddard up towards Carlisle, who marks defensive members' wing. 19 minutes without a goal in this term. Richmond's lead still 10 points on Carlisle. He tried for Dempsey but cut off there by Menadou. He was able to then get the handball to Hawley, who runs into the middle, kicks to centre half forward. Revolt coming back. Couldn't take the mark. Goddard going in the other direction. Now it's locked up at the top of the 50. It comes out. Martin shrugs a tackle from 51. It's a high ball. It's a goal. Finally something to cheer about.
I think both sets of fans are cheering.
Richmond 4-5-29. Essendon 1-7-13. 19 and a half minutes played in the second term. The first goal of the quarter.
Oh, and it was a great goal, and I think Dusty had enough of where this game was going as well and just ripped that ball out of the pack and unloaded from 55. It was a great finish, but yeah, the game's lacked a bit of spark. But where are those explosive players? They're in both sides, but we're just not seeing it enough tonight. So hopefully that's the start of something. The last 4 minutes of this quarter, hopefully we can get another couple of goals.
Is it as simple as saying to the coaches, let them play, Rama, or is that too simplistic to say that?
I don't think it's too simplistic because both game plans I don't think are working for both clubs at the moment. So we need someone to spark this game.
Richmond by 16. Watson out of the middle, kicks a wide ball to half forward for Essendon. It bounces up into the grasp of Jackson Merritt and he wastes it going forward. Straight to Batchelor of the Tigers. He kicks it back to Jackson Merritt, who gets a second look inside the 50. That's no better. Rance across the face of Danaher, intercepts. He works it out to McIntosh. Around the defensive 50 for Delidio. Grigg presents beyond the arc and he'll take the mark. Delidio keeps coming to receive the hand pass back. He had numbers at centre half back, but he goes more direct for Grimes. Grimes has a look up. He ignored Griffiths. Marich is making position and so too Revolt. Short though to Cochin. Centre wing under the members. Martin from the bench. So Essendon have got their defence reasonably well set now. Martin has a look up towards the 50. He is going to kick in the Marich direction. Hooker made the spoil over the top. Edwards under the pack for the Tigers. Hand pass to Morris, who committed himself, jarred it free. Revolt down in the tackle. The ball right against the boundary and still in the field of play. Heppel to Watson, out across the face of goal for Dempsey. Tried to turn away from Menadou, lost it. Grimes nips in for the Tigers, gives it off to Ellis. Hand pass to Griffiths. He snaps the goal. Richmond lay in wait for Essendon there. And when the mistakes came, they pounced. 5-5-35, Richmond with a handy break now. Essendon 1-7-13, 22 gone in the second term.
If you're going to handball the football in your back 50, you need to hit the target. Essendon just weren't clean enough in that situation. And Richmond, they just sweated on it.
Great pressure.
They just sweated on the handball and they kept pushing the players up. Every time Essendon made the handball, a Richmond player was in his face. Terrific forward pressure by the Tigers.
I think it was Connor Menadou who laid that tackle, and Dempsey just hasn't had any room, but he's one player for Essendon who can create off half-back, but he hasn't been allowed to.
Perfect bounce in the middle. Bell Chambers wins it down, and it comes back to him after Watson threw it to him. So a free kick going to Richmond, to Miles. Things are starting to really go Richmond's way at the moment. Miles to half forward. Martin just too strong for Collier. He marks it at the 50 at right half forward. He looks up. He kicks into the pocket. Oh, McBean threw his hands. He was pushed. McBean was pushed. He'll get the free kick. He's about 35, 40 metres from goal in the right forward pocket against Dustin Fletcher.
Very similar builds, these two guys, aren't they? Good matchup.
One's 56, the other one's 19 or 20. Liam McBean kicking to the city end. This would be 4 goals in a row for Richmond. The kick is right. No, that won't be a goal. It's just a behind. Richmond 5-6-36, but with all the momentum, Essendon 1-7-13. Nearly 24 minutes played in the second term.
The Crows by 4 points over the Dockers, 5 minutes into the second term at the Adelaide Oval. Fletcher marks the kick in, plays on quickly, delivers it to half-back Ambrose and Danaher, and Carlisle up over the pack. He was the last to arrive and he brings it down. Carlisle, with nobody tending the mark, cribs a few metres and then kicks it aimlessly. Hooley, though, has a fumble. Chapman is onto it. Hand pass to Collier. He will get the Dons inside the 50. Carlisle has run hard. In fact, it's Jackson Merritt. He took the mark and he runs into the open goal. And belatedly, Essendon gets it second at the 24-minute mark of the second term. And that was urgently required. 2-7-19 Essendon to Richmond 5-6-36.
Well, amazing what happens when you move the football quickly and take the risk of kicking long to contest. Carlisle's hands are really on today. He was 4 deep in that marking contest as just a terrific contested mark, and that started the chain of events. Cooney wasn't ready for the ball. Hooley overruns it, so it was that critical error by Hooley across the half-forward line allows Essendon in, and Collier a terrific kick forward to Jackson Merritt.
Carlisle was spotted at a sandwich shop this afternoon. I'm going to that sandwich shop tomorrow. I want to have what he's eating. Howlett gets the clearance for Essendon up towards half forward, but floating in, taking a good mark was Hooley. Jumped early and took the ball at the right moment, and then just goes with the lateral 20-metre ball to Martin, who'll go even wider to McIntosh. Right half-back flank for Richmond. Very close to half-time here. McIntosh told to play on. Will kick long to a contest to the members' wing. Wants marriage, but Hooker taking the mark for Essendon. Handballs to Bagley. Handball to Chapman. Handball to Dempsey inside the centre square. Just took his eyes off it. Was able to tap it to Watson. Defensive handball to Hooker. Who'll centre it up inside the centre square to Hurley. Hurley will go to Melksham, who marks. Plays on front part of the square. Ran into trouble. Kicks towards full forward. Essendon mark. And it's Danaher. 30 from goal straight in front. That was a good mark because there was a pack of about 6. And he almost got lost in the mess there, but stood his ground and took the mark.
This is the test for Joe Danaher. You want to play full forward in the AFL, you need to kick these goals. And particularly now with the sign going.
Now, last year in the Dreamtime game, he kicked the goal on half-time at the other end. He's got a chance to do it again. Equally as important as that kick last year. Straight in front, 40 out, it's a set shot and it's a goal. And Essendon finished the quarter impressively with 2 goals in 3 minutes to get back within 11 points. And for the second consecutive year on half-time, Danaher does the business. Richmond 5-6-36, Essendon 3-7-25, and there's a bit of a fight going on. all players are involved as they were starting to run off the ground, and this is getting a little messy. There's definitely an Essendon player down behind play. It's Carlisle, and he's wincing in pain inside the centre square. Players are now starting to disperse, but the trainers have gone out to Carlisle. I'll give the goal kickers. Tim Hodges can keep an eye on what's going on at ground level. It is Richmond 5-6-36, Essendon 3-7-25. Goal kickers for Richmond, Cochin with 2, both in the first quarter. Singles to Revolt, Martin and Griffiths. And for Essendon, it is singles to Carlisle, Merritt and also Danaher. It looks like Carlisle's okay, Tim.
The doctor got to him and he waved him off, and he wanted to run off with his teammate. So it looked like he was struggling for breath, but he has got to his teammates. He's now with James Hird as the Bombers go off the ground. So Carlisle and Hird will be the last of the Bombers to head off the G for half-time, guys.
It was quite innocuous contact from Trent Cochin, who really just looked to push him away, and he must have just got him between the ribs in a sweet spot, but there really wasn't anything in it. It was quite surprising to see him doubled over in such a way. So Richmond by 11 points. At the Adelaide Oval, it's the Crows by 4 points, 3-6-24 to the Fremantle 3-2-20. That is 10 minutes into the second term. This is all unfolding on Grandstand AFL here on ABC Local Radio, Radio Australia and Grandstand Digital. Lenny Hayes and Adam Romanowskis.
Well, look, that half didn't get to any great standards from both teams. It's been a very flat game, particularly that second quarter. Now, Essendon hit back late with 2 goals, but I think the message from James Hird and the coaches at half time will be about ball movement. They're too predictable with their ball movement. I think the Bombers, there's no risk taking, and why that is, their risk taker is Travis Collier. Now, Taylor Hunt has the job on Travis Collier, and Collier probably has only had 2 moments in the game. In that second quarter, he's able to get the football to Jackson Merritt for a goal. So he needs to lift his work rate, I think, Travis Collier, in this game for the Bombers. So that just because they lack speed through the middle of the ground, Collier is absolutely crucial for them in that case, because he takes the game on. From a Richmond point of view, I think they'll go in at half-time reasonably happy. They're getting enough one-on-one looks for their forwards inside the forward 50. Now, Revolt should have converted late in that quarter, and that would have been 4 in a row for the Tigers and put some real distance in. I think what will be concerning for Damien Hardwick is finding a matchup for Jake Carlisle. He looks like the guy most likely tonight for the Bombers, and Chaplin's just not the right matchup.
No, he isn't at the moment. And look, you're spot on, Rama. They've looked most dangerous when they get the ball in there quickly. They need guys like Collier, Dempsey, Goddard, Hibberd, Stanton, the guys that can actually break lines. It just looks like they don't have any confidence whatsoever. Some of their best play, Dustin Fletcher played on in the back pocket, got it up to Carlisle, and then he just kicked it forward in almost in hope. There wasn't actually a lead there, and something just was created by that, because it got the Richmond defenders on the back foot, and that some of their quick play out of stoppages has been good. It hasn't been pretty, but it's been quick kicks forward and going back towards goal. They've looked a little bit shaky, Richmond. But look, it could go either way. It's been a bit of a stop-start game, like you mentioned, Rama. Richmond seemed to get away, and they were able to move the ball a little bit better towards the back end of that quarter, because they were able to switch, they're able to get the outnumber, and they look dangerous. But both teams have made some really fundamental errors when they've looked like they're going to get out, and whether that's the conditions or whether that's just where both of these teams are at, hopefully we'll find out a little bit more in the second half.
At the French Open, things are a bit grim for Nick Kyrgios at the moment. Andy Murray has a set and a double break, so 6-4, 5-2. The number 3 seed against the Australian, who is seeded 29 at the tournament. We'll run through scores of all sorts in a moment. At half-time, though, it is 5-6-36 Richmond, leaving Essendon 3-7-25. While at the Adelaide Oval, Fremantle has pinched back the lead, 4-2-26, leaving the Adelaide Crows 3-6-24. That's 12 minutes into the second term. More from Adam Ramanaskas and Lenny Hayes after the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News, I'm Catherine McGann. The Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, says it's normal for Cabinet to have robust discussions. In Monday's confidential Cabinet meeting, a proposal was raised about revoking Australian citizenship for people considered terrorists, even if they aren't citizens of another country. The details of the meeting have been leaked extensively to reporters, with accounts of a number of senior ministers, including Julie Bishop, raising concerns about the proposal. Ms Bishop says she won't talk about what happened in the Cabinet room, but it's no surprise there's debate on important national security issues.
I wouldn't be surprised in the least that there's a debate within Cabinet. I mean, that's the whole idea of having 19 elected members of Parliament form a Cabinet and discuss public policy ideas. Of course there's discussion and debate.
At the start of his fifth term as president of soccer's world governing body FIFA, Sepp Blatter has hit out at what he calls a hate campaign against him and his organisation. Mr Blatter criticised the US Justice Department and the European Football Authority UEFA in an interview with a Swiss television channel. European football governing body UEFA's president Michel Platini had urged Mr Blatter to step down ahead of the vote. Mr Blatter says he's shocked by allegations of systemic corruption at FIFA by the US Attorney General.
This can't have been a coincidence, this American attack just 2 days before the FIFA Congress, and the reaction from UEFA or Mr. Platini. I can't be sure, but it doesn't feel right, because this touches me and it touches FIFA. They try to denigrate me and tell me I should go.
In Myanmar, there's reports a Thai people smuggler who crammed more than 200 migrants into his boat has been arrested. Local media are reporting the 53-year-old man was detained in the country's biggest city of Yangon. Earlier this month, Myanmar's Navy discovered more than 200 men in the hull of a wooden Thai-registered fishing vessel. It was the first rescue the Navy made since Myanmar came under increasing pressure to stem the exodus of persecuted Rohingya Muslims. A Thai crackdown on the lucrative regional smuggling trade has left thousands of desperate migrants stranded on land and at sea. The search for a 26-year-old man from Perth missing in waters off WA's south-east coast is continuing. As Laura Gantry reports, the efforts have expanded to land, sea and air.
Police say the man was with a group taking photographs of Blue Haven Beach in Esperance just after 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, when it's believed he lost his footing and fell into the ocean. Members of the group and local surfers tried to help him, but were unable to bring him to safety. Local police, volunteer marine rescue and surf lifesavers tried to rescue the man, but later lost sight of him. Police have sourced a local helicopter to assist with the search, which already has a Department of Transport vessel and 3 rescue boats looking for the man. State Emergency Service volunteers are also searching along the coast.
13 people have been injured after a bus rolled over in Victoria's southwest this afternoon. 14 passengers were on board when the vehicle overturned at Enfield near Ballarat just before 3 o'clock. A man in his 20s has sustained serious head injuries and has been flown to the Royal Melbourne Hospital. 12 others have been taken to Ballarat Hospital with minor injuries. To sport now, and in the NRL, the South Sydney Rabbitohs have pulled in a strong second-half performance to beat the Gold Coast Titans 22-16. The win was marred by a concussion to South's captain Greg Inglis in the 55th minute. South's coach Michael Maguire says the Titans' defence was tough to get through.
It's about opportunity in our game, and I think we created a lot of opportunities there, but we weren't able to execute. Full credit to how they defended the Gold Coast, especially on their own ground. But for us, we just had to stick at the things we spoke about through the week, and we were able to find a way to win that at the end.
Thousands of football fans have taken part in the long walk to the MCG. The annual walk highlights the need for reconciliation and positive change for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Crowds stroll from Federation Square in the city to the MCG ahead of the Dreamtime clash between Essendon and Richmond. Taking a look at the national weather for tomorrow now. Brisbane, a late shower and a top of 28 degrees. Sydney will be partly cloudy, heading for a top of 18. Canberra, possible late shower and 13 degrees. Melbourne, rain and a top of 15. Hobart, showers, windy and a top of 11 degrees. Adelaide, showers and 16. Perth will be partly cloudy, heading for a top of 22 there. And Darwin will see a shower or two with a top of 29 degrees. You're listening to ABC News.
Becoming a parent is a time of joy and wonder. It's also a time of questions. Why is my baby doing that? What really works? Baby Talk is a weekly ABC podcast that gathers the experience of parents and experts from all over the world on all sorts of topics, from babies and toddlers, from conception to kinder. News and ideas about babies and parenting. Baby Talk on iTunes, Facebook and on the ABC Radio app.
Grandstand AFL.
Centre half forward, Revolt coming back. Couldn't take the mark. Goddard going in the other direction. Now it's locked up at the top of the 50. It comes out. Martin shrugs the tackle from 51. It's a high ball. It's a goal. Finally something to cheer about.
I think both sets of fans are cheering. Heppel to Watson, out across the face of goal for Dempsey. Tried to turn away from Menadou, lost it. Grimes nips in for the Tigers, gives it off to Ellis. Hand pass to Griffiths. He snaps the goal. Hawley, though, has a fumble. Chapman is onto it. Hand pass to Collier. He will get the Dons inside the 50. Jackson Merritt. He took the mark and he runs into the open goal.
Hurley will go to Melksham, who marks, plays on front part of the square, ran into trouble, kicks towards full forward. Essendon marked. And it's Danaher, 30 from goal, straight in front.
This is the test for Joe Danaher. You want to play full forward in the AFL, you need to kick these goals. And particularly now with the siren going.
Straight in front, 40 out, it's a set shot and it's a goal. And Essendon finished the quarter impressively.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Half-time. Dreamtime at the G. Richmond 5-6-36, leading Essendon 3-7-25. Around the codes in the NRL, the Broncos beat the Raiders 24-12. It's half-time in North Queensland. Manly 8 leading the Cowboys 6. It's half-time in the Super Rugby. The Reds 17 leading the Force 10. 2 sets down Nick Kyrgios against Andy Murray at the French Open 6-4, 6-2. The Brit has over Kyrgios. And Kokkinakis and Djokovic are now on court as well. They're a game apiece in the opening set. Today in the AFL, Hawthorn beat Gold Coast by 53 points. Port Adelaide beat Melbourne by 61 points. At the Adelaide Oval, it's the Crows by 7 points, 4-9-33 over Fremantle, 4-2-26. That's time on now of the second term. And in the twilight, the Bulldogs thrashed the Giants 16-17, 113 to GWS 11-68. Now Grandstand AFL team caught up with Eastonwood. Martin Blake speaking to him in the Dogs' rooms.
Oh, Easton, thanks for joining us on ABC Grandstand. Look, 3 losses in a row. You had to do something, so you came out really hot today.
Yeah, look, we had to focus on us as a group. We'd gone away from a few things that we'd done so well and just wrapped in the boys. We got our mojo back tonight. We were back to our pressure, back to our 22 contributors, and it was just great.
I was watching Brett Montgomery, the bench coach, down on the boundary, and he was just imploring everyone to keep moving the ball quickly. You wanted to really run the ball quickly today, didn't you?
Yeah, we want to keep the ball moving. Be hard to defend. That's part of our game, and it worked for us tonight.
And your game, you love the intercept mark. You had about 4 or 5 tonight. You don't not just happy to spoil the boil, are you?
Oh, look, you want to be aggressive, try and get in positions as much as I can to help out my teammates. We play some pretty good forwards every week, and it's a big job. You don't want to leave it to an individual, so I just try and come off and help as much as I can in front market, and that's good.
What was going on with the club this last 3 weeks? Did you just drop off a little bit? What was happening?
It's a golden question, mate. If I knew that, I'd be a wealthy man.
We'll bottle it.
Yeah.
But you're back in town now, and Port Adelaide next week.
Yeah, it'd be a good challenge for us.
Sellers and Tiger upstairs.
Easton, you're actually playing really good football. Do you put it down that you've actually got a really good midfield to help your defence?
Oh, absolutely, mate. If the ball's coming out of there clean, we can't get in good spots and come off and help out. So with our boys in the midfield putting pressure on that ball and just getting some sort of making it come out scrappy, that helps us enormously.
Is this the coach in Luke Beveridge? I really admire him, and I love his gall. He's only coached 7 or 8 games or 9 games or something, but he's gutsy in the way he calls and the way he leads you blokes.
Absolutely, mate. He backs himself in, and the best thing about it is he backs us in. He gives us so much confidence as players. That amazing positive attitude, and he helps us grow, mate. So
yeah, well done.
Easton Toikinelli up here. I'm just interested in could you explain some of the non-negotiables for you as a football club? I know obviously the last 3 weeks haven't been great. But can you give us an insight, a small bit, into some of your secrets?
Don't know about secrets, Ty, but look, with the last 3 weeks, the thing that had probably let us down, our pressure that we'd had in the first few rounds sort of wasn't there. We've put a label on, I guess, of that manic pressure, and I reckon we got that back, and we really stifled teams to try and move the ball with that, and that's how we win.
Yeah, how about the confidence you got in those older boys, Murphy and Boyd, and obviously giving the confidence to yourself and your hands, and obviously to play the game the way you want to play with those guys around you?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. They're such high caliber players. Murph, I don't know how he does it. He just keeps getting better and better. Boydie the same. As they get older, they're like a fine wine, mate. They're getting better.
So when you get old, you just go to the back line, do you?
Maybe. Well, I've been there my whole life, so I don't know about that.
No. Hang on. I'm with you, Easton. The back line's fantastic.
Easton, congratulations on the win, and it's going to be a fascinating contest next week against Port Adelaide.
Absolutely will.
They're 5-4 now, the Dogs. Eastonwood there with our Grandstand AFL team at Docklands. The one other score is New Zealand's been bowled out for 350 in the Test match against England. How about this? Broad's figures, 17.1 overs, 5 for 109. Most expensive fifer in Test history.
Is it?
Yep. Aggers says so Aggers would be right. Per over.
Right, okay.
6.41 per over.
Yep. Right.
17.1 overs, 5 for 109. That's trash, my friend.
Well, 5 wickets in a Test match isn't trash.
I know. Going at 6.4 for them, that's trash.
McCullum, was that one that he took to? He was batting very aggressively last night. I'm telling you now, Jared, there is not much between England and Australia come the Ashes.
You're entitled to your theories.
In England conditions, I reckon that they'll have it together by the time that it comes around. It'll be a close series.
We're zeroing in on half-time at the Adelaide Oval, and Eddie Betts has kicked one of the goals of the year. No, you can only judge England on their form. And they won a Test, and from a poor position, and they're in a poor position again. They may very well win that Test as well.
Yeah, well, they're in a reasonable spot.
There's 85,271 at the MCG, I reckon, at the moment. Was the running total? No, I've read that wrong figure. That's guess the crowd. That's just
I reckon
there's
83.
I reckon 85 will be close. So they're back out on the ground, and they'll go at it again in a couple of minutes' time. Richmond by 11 points. Rama and Lenny, what needs to change to invigorate the evening?
Look, from my point of view, it's both teams need risk-taking players in this second half, because that's what's going to break the game open. I think that all goals have been kicked by a piece of a risk or a piece of brilliant play. Look, Dustin Munn drags the football out of that stoppage, and it was a great goal, and it gives a little bit of life to the game. What Damien Hardwick will be very happy with, only 47 uncontested marks for Essendon. Now, Essendon love to possess the ball, and I think they over-possess the football far too much, but 47 marks, uncontested marks, and those marks have been wide. I reckon probably 3 marks have been inside the corridor from an uncontested point of view. So Richmond are guarding that corridor very well at the MCG.
They've held them up well.
Yeah, they have. You've got to stay inside the logos at the MCG, because the wings are very, very wide here. So that's what I think from a defensive point of view, Damien Hardwick will be very happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we need some guys just to take it on, to break the lines. We've spoken about Dempsey, we've spoken about Collier. Throw Collier up on the ball, throw him on the wing, put him inside, get a bit of dash, bit of dare, get the ball in Goddard's hands, and tell him to take it on. Tell him to penetrate. And from Richmond's point of view, look, they've been pretty good. I mean, Essendon actually winning the clearances, the tackles, and they've had more of the ball, but Richmond have just been a little bit more dynamic going forward and a little bit better with the footy. It's interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, there's nothing in the stats at all in the first half. So many of them very, very close, except for maybe clearances. Essendon's away 19-12. We're ready to go for the second half here at the MCG. Dreamtime at the G. Richmond's lead is 11 points, and Essendon will go forward with Melksham getting a handball out towards Jackson Merritt, who got a bit of a bad bounce, and as a result, players came from both sides to create a stoppage, and it'll be thrown up left front corner of the square for the Bombers, kicking to the city end. It gets thrown up. quickly. Knocked down and then ricocheted out wide towards Edwards of the Tigers, who kicks it in front of himself and then loses control of it as it goes out for a boundary throwing. Left half forward for Essendon on the southern side.
Pensive looking fans in the lower decks, wondering what the shape of things will be in this second half. Bell Chambers down to Watson, who knocked it instead of taking it, knocked it straight to Cochin. Morris and Ellis have a go. Winkling a kick out back near Cochin, and McIntosh gets it onto his boot, but there's no penetration in the kick. It took a Richmond bounce though. Ellis to Batchelor, who feeds it up to Griffiths and then gets it back. Batchelor has a bounce reaching half forward. He kicks to the teeth of goal. Who have they got up? Deledio is the flyer. Edwards is the crummer. He hand passed it through the goals. That counts as one. Oh, there's going to be a free kick to Grigg on the goal line. Well, that's a little fortuitous. There was a scrap, which Ambrose was involved in. Whether he really dragged Grigg away from that, I'd take a bit of convincing. From point-blank range, though, Grigg puts up the first of the second half. And Richmond re-establishes a 17-point lead, cancelling out the Danaher goal on the half-time siren. 6-6 to 3-7.
They've just been a little bit cleaner, Rama, haven't they? Just from the clearance, it was really nice play. Cochin just ran incredibly hard, was involved in that passage of play 2 or 3 times. And, yeah, just really unfortunate. He probably wasn't going to get there anyway, so it was a silly free kick. He just felt the pressure of being right on the goal line, and good start for Richmond, though.
Some of the players that have been a little quiet. Joe Watson, certainly one of those. Only 7 disposals for Essendon. And for Richmond, even someone like a Sean Grigg, Cochin, they've had 12, but they haven't really had a lot of impact on the match except for the scoreboard. From the centre bounce, there is Watson. Gets a handball to Zach Merritt. Handball missed. Dempsey. Grigg went off the ground for Richmond towards half forward. Zach Merritt tries to clean up his own mess. Got the ball. Handball to Hurley. Revolt tackled him over the line for a throw-in. Half forward left for the Tigers. Miles has only had 6 disposals. Revolt's only had 4. So a lot of the key players just not really in the action as much as we'd expect. Thrown in. Marich wins it down to the front. Grigg gets a handball under pressure to Martin. Runs away from Watson, away from goal, and then turns around and kicks to the 50. Hurley spoils away from Revolt. At the drop, Heppel well tackled, holding the ball. Well done, Cochin. And that'll be 50. The ball was kicked away. Or will it be 50? No, it won't be. Benefit of the doubt. So no 50-metre penalty. Cochin has it 55 from goal at left half forward. A lot of players ahead of him. He's going to go deep to the pocket. He wants Revolt. Hurley with the spoil. It comes down to Ambrose. It kicks around the body for the Bombers.
It'll land up on the members' wing. It's intercepted, though, by Taylor Hunt, who pumps it straight back inside the 50. It cleared the first group of leapers, and Bagley held his ground at the back to take the mark for Essendon. Off to Hibbert. It's a shocking kick on the way out. It's intercepted by McIntosh, and he dabs it into the pocket for Ellis.
Well done, Steve Morris. Just affected that kick by Hibbert. It was great pressure. He's had no room to move tonight, Hibbert.
He bit off more than he could chew with the kick under pressure. And now, Brandon Ellis, certainly on a tight enough angle. He'll be 40 metres from goal. Ellis lets fly. That is narrow. In fact, that has not even scored. That is out of bounds on the full.
What's worse than narrow? Come on, you're the wordsmith.
It wasn't even on the board. Richmond still by 17. It's the Crows by a goal at half-time over the Dockers. 4-9-33 to Fremantle, 4-3-27.
Stanton kicks out towards half-back through the hands of Bell Chambers. It's a Richmond footy again into the pocket towards Revolt. Hurley with the spoil. It goes out of play. So Rance kicking the ball inside 50. But at least they're getting forced wide, Rammer and Lenny, at the moment, Richmond. The ball to be thrown in, 30 out, right forward pocket for the Tigers. Marich wins it down to Melksham, kick smothered by Marich. Comes out to Stanton, handballs to Hurley, kicks it as far as he can to midfield. It bounces in the centre circles. Now there's a bit of a foot race on here. Under pressure is Chaplin. Danaher is chasing. Chaplin did very well and fed out the handball to McIntosh, who slipped over at the critical moment and has coughed it up straight to Ambrose. Handballs to Harepool, shrugs the tackle. Defensive handball to Watson. He'll go wide to half forward. On the bounce to Danaher, who has a little bit of a fumble under pressure, and the ball goes out of play for a throw-in between wing and half-forward right for the Bombers.
Was it a great option by Watson? A football needed to be inside forward 50.
Too wide.
The Tigers by 17. At the throw-in, Bell Chambers lost front spot. Griffiths won the tap as he was tumbling to ground. Menadou through the pack, couldn't take it. Hibbard pulls it clear, puts the Bombers inside the 50. He's overkicked Jackson Merritt. The ball lands on its point, stays in though. Batchelor is in the tackle of Jackson Merritt, and they're out over the boundary.
Batchelor's got rid of the Pat Rafter hairstyle.
40 out from the Essendon goal. At the throw-in, Bell Chambers gets it down to Chapman, up and down virtually on the spot. Ellis jumped in, brought it down. It was never going to be paid as a mark, though. And now it will be balled up 30 metres out from the Dons' goal.
Essendon to the city end. Ball gets thrown up. Comes down to Brandon Ellis. Handball to Rance, dispossessed by Cooney. Comes back to Rance. Handball straight to Jackson Merritt. It bobbled around a little bit. He lost it. Goddard fell over. It's so messy here. Collier out of the congestion. It's close. It's just missed the left. Snap out of the pack from 25. Another behind to Essendon. 3-8-26. Richmond 6-6-42. 7 played, third term.
Flopstone on the kick in into the right back pocket for Chaplin. He's confronted by Stanton, so had to back away out over the boundary. Clears the defensive arc with not much of a kick. It was just a prod and it's intercepted by Dempsey. He'll launch the Bombers back to the teeth of goal. Carlisle kept out of it. Stanton with the flight. Carlisle's the crummer. Rance wraps him up, dispossessed him. They fight for it at the top of the square. Batchelor is over it. He got taken high. So the Tigers get a reprieve on the last line.
Yep, in the defensive goal square with Jake Batchelor. Shaved head now. He goes out to the southern side. It's a little wide of Edwards and it bounces out of play. Throw in 50 around from Essendon's goal to come. It hasn't got much better since half time. Damien Hardwick in the box, quite frustrated with things as the ball gets thrown in 60 around from Essendon's goal. Griffiths wins it down to the front. Edwards this time gets it. He kicks as long as he can forward of the southern wing. It beats the pack. Hooker first back there for Essendon. He's backpedaling. He gives a handball to Hurley. Hurley's kick to Heppel, who takes it well in the hands, then kicks up towards half forward. Messy kick. Howitt, though, was there in the end. Got the handball. Now through midfield. Dempsey. Handball to Hibbard from the 50. Tackled as he kicked. It falls short. Chaplin marks for the Tigers' last line of defence.
It's been down there for a while. Chaplin trying to get the Tigers out of it. Delidio had to fly in over the top of Stanton and go the spoil. Batchelor makes it okay. He shares it with Miles and gets it back and crosses the face of goal once more. Rance should be able to get them out here. Fires the hand pass without hesitation to Florstone and now up to McIntosh. He crosses halfway onto the right boot. Not the best of kicks. Knocked down by Griffiths. McIntosh went and followed up. Got it back to Griffiths. He works it up now to Menadou, who crashes through the 50. Takes a pot shot and hits the right-hand post. For all the world, that was going to be a goal.
Good
Richmond by
the
17.
Yeah, sorry, Jed. Good movement by the Tigers. Just their ability to use their width. Just looked a lot more dangerous because they're spreading the Essendon defence. It was a nice bit of play.
Fletcher short to Hibbard to Goddard. He goes down the middle. Good kick into the centre square to Melksham. He was looking for a runner coming past. There was no one there. So he goes short to Cooney. He's at the middle. He kicks into the 50. Oh, what a great mark to Watson. Floating in from the side. That was spectacular. Just inside the 50. Never seen Jobe get up that high.
Well, he can do that, Watson, because He played a lot of his junior football as a centre-half forward.
Even at Bendigo,
yes,
centre-half
absolutely. So I actually like when, as with Cochin, when Watson goes forward. I think he becomes a very, very dangerous player for Essendon.
He's going to have a shot at goal. He'll have to kick it 51 metres to the city end right of centre. And he comes. He's timed it well. He's timed it very well. Goal to Essendon. The Bombers 4-8-32. The margin back to 11 points. Richmond 6-7-43 at the 11-minute mark of the third term.
It's a great call, Rammer, and he's stayed down there, which is good to see. Joe Watson. He can play as a natural forward when he's down there, and when it isn't working for you inside, he didn't have a big half. He only had the 7 disposals, so I really like that move by James Hird to put him down forward.
Sorry, Jerry, it's like in a low-scoring game, there's going to be a game breaker, and it could be a Delidio or Watson.
He's a match winner.
I reckon he's there out of necessity, having watched him last week as well. He's not quite right.
I agree.
He spent a good deal of last week up forward. I think his work in the middle of the ground is inhibited at the moment. So he's down in the goal square. The bounce left the circles, so the umpire will try again. Richmond by 11 points. 12th minute of the third term. Marich reaches in, wins the tap. Martin hand pass it forward, then towed a little further forward. It got past Revolt and Hurley intercepts for the Bombers. He took them on. He ran straight at the defenders. Off to Chapman, now to Goddard, up to Melksham. Slick hand pass to Hibbard. He going to put this up to full forward. You know, that's where Cooney's run out into the pocket. Grimes went with him. He made the spoil. The kick was too wide to really create anything.
It was a poor kick and a poor lead. Cooney shouldn't be leading to that area of the ground.
Left forward pocket for Essendon. Ambrose doing the ruck work, so Marich won it cleanly. Down to Delidio, off to Ellis, runs across the face of goal, 2 bounces, ran into trouble. Howlett downs him in the tackle, and the kick slews away beyond the defensive 50. Clever from Jackson Merritt, who tucked it back to Chapman, who kicks it to full forward, where Danaher planted himself, couldn't mark. Under the pack, it takes a Richmond turn. Batchelor receives the hand pass and gives it off to Ellis.
Under pressure, he kicks back towards the members' wing. It gets away there from Bagley, and Richmond come up with it through Griffiths. Handball's under pressure to Edwards. Good kick to the wing to Revolt. Oh, they're out here, the Tigers. The kick from Revolt into the path of Martin. If it sits, he's in business. He decides to kick off the ground into the pocket. He's still going, Martin. Oh, he gets knocked over by Dempsey.
Terrific.
Terrific Dempsey defensively. And we'll get a throw in and look for all certain to be a goal.
Well, Dempsey come from 50 metres away. He left his man because Martin was winning the foot race. And it was really, really good play by Courtney Dempsey.
15 metres around from Richmond's goal in their left forward pocket. Marich wins it down. The kick from Delidio to full forward. Again, desperate from Dempsey. They're trying to rush it through the Essendon defence, and they succeed. A behind to Richmond. The Tigers 6-8-44. Essendon 4-8-32. 13 played third term.
Goddard to kick in. He leaves the square, gains a few extra metres and kicks long. Danaher's got the field against him. Rance gets there to take the mark for Richmond. So they trap it at half forward. Essendon will push numbers back, including Carlisle, who's headed as the spare. Hooker's got the run at the ball that was heading into the pocket. And that's his stock in trade, the intercept mark. Hooker had a look at the switch, and instead he'll kick to centre-half back. This is a risky kick. Carlisle had to take the mark. He did, and he distributes the ball out to the left. Taken by Zach Merritt, who works it onto Collier. Chapman's come with him. They cross halfway. This is a good build-up. Back to Collier, who should have the pace to go. He bounces. He outruns the pursuers. He steadies from 50, and he kicks the goal of the night. That's what Essendon has been waiting for. Some intervention from Travis Collier. They are within a kick. 5-8-38 to Richmond. 6-8-44. 15 gone of the third term.
It was a risky kick coming inside the corridor. Carlisle made it a good kick. David Hart would be disappointed in McIntosh. He should have been able to affect that spoil, but it was smart play. Just by Chapman, he drew in Grimes. And then Collier was able just to burn on, and McIntosh, to his credit, tried to make up for the mistake. But Collier, he's too quick. He is probably, he'll be the top 5 of the quickest players in the comp with the ball in his hand. And that's hard to do. Kick goals on the run at top speed.
2 in a row to the Bombers in the last 5 minutes. There's nothing happening from the bounce. With Melksham tackled by Grigg, it'll be thrown up. It is thrown up. And Melksham gets the clearance for Essendon to centre half forward. Hunt going back with the flight, dropped the mark. Rance came in late, comes back to Rance. Handballs into the path of Flostone, who was able to shrug a tackle, having taken possession on the bounce. He kicks forward to the southern wing. It's very wide, but Menadou takes the mark. Close to the boundary. He goes inboard with a short pass to Delidio, just forward of the southern wing. He looks up and there's not really an option he likes. So he waits. He wants Jack to lead. Jack does lead. He goes to him and he marks it on his chest at the 50. He had pressure coming late, but Revolt hugged the ball to his chest and marked just inside the 50, right of centre.
Beautiful kick by Delidio, but really poor play by Essendon. I mean, if you're going inside 50, we know that the Tigers go to Jack Riewoldt most of the time. 75% of the time go to Jack. So there's enough time there for the Essendon wingers and on-ballers to get back and clog up that space. So it's poor play by Essendon.
Jack Riewoldt has 1 goal, 1 so far this evening. This to the punt road end. He releases it from just outside the 50. He leans back on it. It's close. Oh, a huge fly in the square. It's rushed through from behind. Was that Griffiths that jumped up really high? McBean. It was a rushed behind.
Dons bring it in. They're down by 7. Goddard to Fletcher. Kicks beyond the defensive 50. Rants up over this pack to win it back. He played on. He's kicked to the teeth of goal. Up over the top was Fletcher making the spoil on McBean, and Zach Merritt's got the run at the bouncing ball through the defensive 50. He pulls the kick into the middle for Howlett. Wants to get it onto Stanton and off now to Heppel. Wider still to Melksham. Melksham should be able to get it up to the 50. Carlisle has got on the lead. Danaher's on over the top. Oh, the kick came back inboard. Hooley just did enough to run interference. The Tigers survived one that they mightn't have. Rance worked it around with Batchelor and Hooley, and then there's a high tackle from Stanton, and he gives away the free kick to Grimes.
Almost a professional free kick to stop the run. The game is starting to open up. Richmond's lead is 7 points at the 18-minute mark of the third term. Grimes to the members' wing. Bell Chambers marks, with Hooker edging out Griffiths from the contest. He'll give the handball to Fletcher. Fletcher will go defensively inside the centre square to Goddard. He's at the back part of the square. He'll kick to midfield to Howlett. He'll dink a handball over the top to Watson. He's got Morris coming at him. So Watson goes long. Danaher, yes! 25 from goal straight in front. He had his name written all over it.
Carlisle just ran a little bit of interference for Rance. Rance wasn't able to get into that contest. But smart ball movement by Essendon. And Lenny's been speaking about taking the football out the other side of the ground. Bell Chambers takes the mark, but then gets the football into the middle of the ground. It just opens up for everybody.
There's no doubt they've had instruction at half-time to try and switch at all costs.
Danaher straight in front to the city end. Oh, he's hit the post, or is it a goal? It's a goal. Gee, that got close to the post. It swung back late, and he's got a second. That was close. Richmond 6-9-45, Essendon 6-8-44 at the 19-minute mark of the third term.
Well, that's 3 in a row now for the Bombers. And I think, as Len said, clearly Essendon now are trying to take the risk. Zach Merritt on the outer wing a couple of times in this quarter has been taking the game on. I think now they're obviously starting to see the reward through taking the risk. But it's got to continue. What does Richmond do now? Essendon kick 3 in a row. Do they just drop one back now? And there's still 6 minutes of playing time to go in this quarter just to try hold.
Richmond by a point. Bell Chambers wins the tap in the middle down to Watson. Feeds it out to Stanton. To the wing now for Hibbert. Up over the top. Watson kept coming. The Dons are looking for the go-ahead goal. Kick up for Carlisle. 60 out. No mark paid. Jackson Merritt is onto it. It's Howlett, in fact. He kicks into the pocket. Marich gets there to take the mark. Danaher the Bombers fans felt was removed from the pack illegally. No joy. Marich out of the back pocket. Hibbard flies trying to win it back for the Bombers. Under the pack, it spills the way of Howlett. Held up by McIntosh. She gives it off to Morris and now to Martin. Kicks Richmond down the wing. McBean has got to go against plenty. He's got some help there from Revolt. Revolt gathers, keeps his hands free, gets it to Griffiths. Has a look at an open forward line. Kicks it for space. The race is on. It runs up towards the square. Ellis is closing from a long way back. Melksham's got to be steady in the pocket, and he is. He works it to Hooker and gets it back.
He did well, Melksham. The next handball, a little iffy on the bounce to Bagley. Under pressure, gave the handball to Hooker. He gives the handball to Cooney. They're caught in the back pocket, Essendon. This kick is very important. Down towards Ambrose. Batchelor over the top, nearly stole it. And it will go out of bounds for a throw-in off hands. 21 minutes played, third term. Richmond's lead a point. And Essendon with the last 3 goals, as Jared mentioned. Left half forward for the Tigers. Ball gets thrown in. Bell Chambers wins it to the front. Cochin under pressure, handballs to Ellis. Tackled as he kicks it, but he gets it to the 50. Essendon with the advantage numbers-wise. Bagley was best placed to at least affect the contest and get it back out of bounds for a throw-in. Now only 40 metres around from Richmond's goal as they attack the Pump Road end. Goddard comes from the bench, desperate to be involved in this contest. As the ball gets thrown in, Bell Chambers wins it. And wins it decisively as well. About 30 metres Essendon's way. Zach Merritt onto the loose footy. Handball's in front of himself, close to the boundary. Now Ambrose takes it. Will handball back to Merritt, who's kept running. They're working well here, Essendon. Inboard handball to Heppel. Back to Merritt. Can he keep it in play? He can with a quick handball to Heppel. And Merritt again. No, he runs out of room, out of bounds.
They were out there too. They had numbers on the inside, but they just couldn't work the ball back into the corridor. Unfortunate, but Essendon has certainly lifted in this quarter. Their intensity around the ball and their willingness to take risks has got them back into this game.
Richmond by a point, time on to the third term. Essendon in attack, but not for long. Miles from the stoppage. Works into Grigg and gets it back. Kicks beyond halfway. He put it back behind Revolt, and that moment has passed. Fletcher to Hooker to Hibbard as the Bombers work it around in defence. Now to Goddard. He caught the high ball, turned and spears it up towards the 50. Rance chopped the arms of Ambrose. Ambrose with the free kick. He's 60 metres out from goal. Danaher wants it in the square. That's where the kick goes. He's got plenty to fly against. Tigers have got numbers at the drop. McIntosh runs out into the right back pocket. He's had 2 bounces. He's looking for a target down the wing. Grigg against Bagley. It cleared the pair. Bagley recovers best. Hand passes to Goddard and Essendon with a chance at halfback.
Goddard kicks into the middle to Fletcher, who marks. He plays on. He kicks wide towards half forward into the direction of Collier, but it bounces away from him and goes out of play for a throw-in 70 metres around from Essendon's goal, southern side. The Bombers to the city end. Richmond's lead still a point. 23 played third term. Ball gets thrown in. Marich tried to grab it out of the ruck. Couldn't do so. Back into the congestion. It's taken by Jackson Merritt. Handballs to Cooney into the pocket with a pass towards Danaher. Cochin came off the pack though. Spoiled it and then kicked it around the body back towards the southern side of the ground. Griffiths tried to be clever to tap it to Grigg, but it wasn't. Well, it didn't work out in the end. Straight back into a contest. Essendon's football. Hibbard for the Bombers. Handballs to Hurley. He's in the centre circles. He looks up. He goes towards centre half forward. Another poor kick. And Brandon Ellis takes the mark for the Tigers and he can go to the members' side.
They're doing plenty of defending. They're leading by a point and trying to build something on the counter-attack. It came through Hooley and on now to Edwards. Revolt with the lead and Edwards held on to the footy. Revolt still in play. They'll only gain 25 metres though as a result. Griffiths, McLean and Grigg are the 3 deep targets. Revolt is going to kick it in the Grigg direction. He'll have to beat Fletcher. From the side comes Griffiths. Free kick. Essendon's way. Fletcher interfered with in the marking contest. Out the back to Cooney and up now to Goddard and back to Cooney. Collier makes the play out at half-back. He's got enough separation on Flostone to mark. Danaher leads up down the wing. Chaplin came with him. The kick was poor. Chaplin should have marked. He didn't. Danaher's still in the frame here. He's in the tackle. He stands. He gets a hand pass towards the boundary. Collier tackles Grimes. It was high. Grimes will get the free kick on the southern wing.
Bit of Selwood action there from Grimes, the way he dropped the legs to get the free kick. He goes backwards to defensive 50 to Rance. Rance from one half-back flank to the other, to the member side to Taylor Hunt, who marks and then runs on and chips short to Ellis between wing and half-back. Ellis will kick to the members' wing. He wants Delidio, who marks in front of Heppel, in front of the Essendon interchange gates. Up to nearly 26 minutes in the third term. It won't be a long quarter because there haven't been too many goals kicked. DeLeo down the line towards the ruckman in Marriage. He couldn't mark. Bellchambers with a spoil. He goes out of play for a throw-in.
Richmond by a point. A shade more than 90 seconds left to play in this third term. Bellchambers knocks it down. Cochin in the tackle. Hand pass to Martin. Got himself clear. Kicks inside the 50. The target there is Griffiths. Hooker got a hand in. It's out of play in the left forward pocket for Richmond.
Goddard's just setting up as that extra behind the ball at the moment. I think he's had 8 or 9 disposals this quarter, and if you want the ball in someone's hands, it's his. He's been instrumental in getting Essendon back in this game.
Just a one goal Richmond's way in this third term. Marriage gets it out of the ruck though, down to Miles. Hand passes to McIntosh, quickly onto the boot. It's close, it's there. And again, Richmond gets a soft goal out of a stoppage. And it's a vital one late in the third term. 7-9-50 won the Tigers. Essendon 6-8-44. 27 minutes played of the third.
He was there unopposed.
I think it was a half forward, maybe Collier, who didn't roll up quick enough. But you can see what happens if you're not concentrating. You know, for 15, 20 seconds, especially at a stoppage in your defensive 50, should be red alert. So to get 2 goals like that in this game, where it hasn't been a high-scoring game, has been really disappointing for Essendon.
Rammer, it was like Collier saw him, but still thought, I don't need to worry, it won't go to him.
It's not going to get to him,
Shouldn't assume.
And then he just, even with how quick he is, he just couldn't make up that space.
Dying stages of the third term, back in the middle. Collier charges off the square, lost it. Edwards came through with it. Handballs to Marriage. He's tackled by Zach Merritt. Loses it. It's back in the middle. There's a push. Free kick to Richmond. There's definitely time for the Tigers for one more. With Miles getting the free kick. He kicks to Revolt, who marks inside the centre square. So 2 kicks from goal. McBean offers a lead. That's ignored. Revolt's going towards Delidio. I like him here. I like him a lot. He's got it. He's only 20 metres from goal in the left forward pocket.
It was really poor defending by Essendon because both Morris and Delidio were free inside Richmond's forward 50. Total communication breakdown by the Bombers.
This will really hurt Essendon. 2 goals on the stroke of three-quarter time, and Delidio hits the post. That post has been hit a lot in this game. Richmond 7-10-52, Essendon 6-8-44. The Tigers lead 8 points. We saw him kick goals from that spot against Collingwood only 2 weeks ago. He couldn't do it there from a bit closer.
Dempsey marked the kick in. Out of the back pocket with seconds remaining. He kicks for territory and the siren sounds. Essendon narrowed the margin from 11 down to 8. They'll feel like they should be closer still at the three-quarter time break. Richmond 7-10-58. 7-10-52. 8-point leaders on Essendon. 6-8-44. 7-10 to 6-8. The goal kickers... Cochin has 2, with 1 each to Martin, Grigg, Revolt, Griffiths and McIntosh. While for the Dons, 2 for Danaher and singles to Watson, Jackson Merritt, Carlisle and Collier. Richmond by 8 points at the final change. They're 8 minutes into the third quarter at the Adelaide Oval, where the Crows lead the Dockers by 7 points, 5-10-40 to 5-3-33. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio, Radio Australia and Grandstand Digital.
Comedy can actually make us aware of ourselves.
Take an amusing look at comedy with Stop Laughing, This Is Serious.
If you can laugh at a mate's problems, it helps him, you know.
Narrated by Eric Banner, this 3-part history of Australian comedy features more than 60 interviews from stand-up to radio, television, theatre and film. Stop laughing, this is serious. ABC DVD from ABC shops, centres, online and mobile.
Grandstand AFL.
The Lidio was the flyer. Edwards is the crummer. He hand-passed it through the goals. Counts as one. Oh, there's going to be a free kick to Grigg on the goal line. From point-blank range, though. Grigg puts up the first of the second half.
Cooney, he's at the middle. He kicks into the 50. Oh, what a great mark to Watson. Floating in from the side. That was spectacular. He'll have to kick it 51 metres to the city end right of centre. He's timed it well. He's timed it very well.
Taken by Zach Merritt, who works it onto Collier. Chapman's come with him. They cross halfway. This is a good build-up. Back to Collier, who should have the pace to go. He bounces. He outruns the pursuers. He steadies from 50 and he kicks the goal of the night. Marriage gets it out of the ruck, though. Down to Miles. Hand passes to McIntosh. Quickly onto the boot. It's close. It's there. And again, Richmond gets a soft goal out of a stoppage. And it's a vital one late in the third term.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and on ABC Grandstand Digital.
Richmond by 8 points at the final change. The Crows by 1 point, 10 minutes into the third term against the Dockers. In the NRL, Manly 14 leading the Cowboys 12 in a thriller. That's after 71 minutes. In the Super Rugby, the Reds are going to beat the Force 32-10 after 76 minutes. We've lost our tennis score there, but Nick Kyrgios has been beaten in straight sets by Andy Murray, and Thanasi Kokkinakis is down in the first set. Novak Djokovic has taken that 6-4 and leads with a break in the second set 2-1. So the number one seed 6-4, 2-1 over Thanasi Kokkinakis after Nick Kyrgios has been knocked out by Andy Murray. Adam Ramanauskas and Lenny Hayes.
Well, Essendon got themselves back into that game by taking some risks for Amber, and it was great to see because they almost, every time they took a mark at half-back, they looked to switch, and that's where they got on the outside of Richmond. They looked really dangerous, and they tended to penetrate a little bit more as well, so they had that balance of going after the short kicks or penetrating in long. Joe Watson looked a bit more dangerous that quarter. He had the 7 disposals, but Goddard for mine was the architect off half-back. Hooker's still taking marks down there, which is a concern for Richmond. So, look, the game's in the balance at the moment. Essendon has still had more of the ball. They're winning the clearance. They've had more tackles, but they're a little bit more effective going forward that quarter. Carlisle's having a day out, but he just can't convert. What's he kicked? He's kicked 1 goal, 2, and maybe another one out on the full. So they need to try and isolate him because he's looked really dangerous. So, look, the game's in the balance. If Essendon can get some good ball, but they need to continue to take risks, and that isn't always easy because the first half they haven't looked confident with their ball use. They've made mistakes, so it's going to be a real test for their senior players to drive that in this last quarter.
I thought Danaher looked a lot more dangerous that quarter, playing closer to goal. Look, for Richmond to win this game, they need a lift out of Hawley, Miles, and Taylor Hunt. Look, I think Taylor Hunt's job has been good, though. He's played on Collier, and that's probably the one player I think Essendon need more from this quarter, because his run through this last quarter will be vital if Essendon can get over the line. Do you bring the sub on now in Marty Gleeson? Do you look to inject him into the game, and vice versa on Richmond with Corey Ellis? It looks like the Tigers have made the sub with Liam McBean, looks like, with the red vest on there. So Richmond are realising, well, for us to continue to lead in this game, we need some run in this last quarter. I think they should be playing Jack Revolt closer to goal in this quarter. He's got right up the ground. His direct opponent's Hurley. Now, Hurley, you could just see him starting to sit back, and Essendon actually used Hurley really well in that quarter. They were able to switch the football to him, and Hurley, being the prodigious kick he was, it was straight down the centre of the ground. So, look, really, really tight game. Hasn't been to a really high standard, but we've got the close one.
Winners today, Hawthorn by 53, Port Adelaide by 61, the Western Bulldogs by 45. It's Richmond by 8 and Adelaide by 1. So both night matches are in the balance. We're about to enter the final term, Dreamtime at the G, in front of a tremendous crowd at the MCG, looking for a big finish. Centre bounce to open the term. Bell Chambers wins the tap, but Cochin wins the clearance for Richmond. Hooker couldn't take the mark and Morris worried him out of it. Dempsey had to go. Hibbert and Watson trying in defence. Watson's coughed their start. Edwards puts it forward to the play to Greg, who should kick the goal. He does. Richmond snatched the first of the final term. A second goal for Greg. It's the Tigers by 14.
I think you're right, guys. I don't think Joe Watson's 100%. I mean, uncharacteristic for him to get out-muscled at the centre bounce by Trent Cochin, but then the fumble across half-back, it's an uncharacteristic bit of play by Jobe. He's normally so clean, but it was great pressure by Richmond and a nice finish by Grigg. Just took the couple of steadying steps and put it through nicely. So great start to the quarter by the Tigers.
So that goal that Delidio missed just before three-quarter time, not so significant now, that goal to Grigg. Just seconds into the final term. The lead 14 points, Richmond with the last two goals. Marriage wins the tap down. In fact, it comes back to him and gave the handball to Martin, who kicks a customary 60-metre ball towards the 50, wanting Delidio. There with him was Bagley to spoil away and get it to the boundary for a throw-in 50 around from Richmond's goal. Tense at the moment here at the MCG. Over 80,000 in attendance for Dreamtime at the G, and also Dustin Fletcher's 400th game. Bell Chambers wins it to the front. Kicking it off the ground was Melksham back to the sanctuary of the boundary. It'll be thrown in again.
A test of nerve, doubtless in the early stages of this final term. Richmond to up the stakes with that first goal. Watson goes third man up. He punched it clear, but he seemed to wear one in the ribs and he's crumpled in the back plate. It's gone back over the boundary. Tim Hodges.
Jake Carlisle's lost a boot, Jared. He tried to get the shoelace undone. He couldn't, so he threw it 40 metres to the bench and trying to get someone else to be able to undo his shoelaces. So he's out there with one boot at the moment.
We've got a Farrier on the scene. Marich wins the tap. Off the ground went Grigg. Gained a metre or two. Delidio gathers against the boundary. He hooks it up inside the 50. Six-man pack flies at it. Spoils are made against the boundary. Stanton for the Bombers. Hand pass to Howlett, who was in a tight spot. Back for Stanton. Keeps it in. Now to Watson. Kicks down the line, needs Carlisle in front of Rance. Rance worked his man under it. It spills to the back and out of play at the interchange gates.
And he comes to the bench, Carlisle, to get that shoe refitted. It's the umpire to throw it in front of Mark Williams on the Richmond bench. Members wing. Over the top, Marich taps it straight to Stanton, up towards Chapman, who couldn't mark. Oh, Ambrose clever with a tap to Dempsey. Handballs to Collier. This just has to go through. And Collier delivers with a second goal in the second half. And from 40 metres on the run, he makes it an 8-point game. Richmond 8-10-58. Essendon 7-8-53 played in the last term.
We like that from Dempsey, taking the game on, making something happen from half back out of the stoppage. He just burst through. I love the work of Ambrose. It was a 3-on-1 situation. Ambrose was able to tap that football and Collier gets out in the open and kicks the goal.
Goal apiece at the start of this final term. 4 minutes played. You can distinctly feel it tensing up. Bell Chambers wins the tap, but Marriage gets onto the footy. He gives it to Edwards. He kicks a blazing ball out into the pocket. Fletcher sees it away and out of play. Griffiths went to ground at the front of the contest.
Marich has had the 6 clearances, guys, so he's having a real impact around that stoppage situation.
Right forward pocket for Richmond. Marich and Bell Chambers go at it. Bell Chambers wins this one, but it opened up for Ellis for the Tigers. Hand pass to Miles. He'll get a kick off to the teeth of goal. Morris from the side set himself and he'll be paid the mark. It's not beyond the realms. He'll get a 50 against Hooker. The umpire on the scene. Morris took the mark. Hooker offloaded him, and it is going to be a 50-metre penalty. It makes a certainty of it for Stephen Morris.
I think the umpire may have watched the replay to give that 50-metre penalty.
So Morris put himself in harm's way and he gets the full benefits of it. And Stephen Morris will restore Richmond's 14-point lead. And it just keeps Essendon at bay. 9:10:64 to the Dons, 7:8:50. 5 minutes played of the final two.
Morris just coming off the ground too, guys. But look, it's great reward for effort for him. He's only had the 5 disposals, but he's kicked the 1 goal. But what he does do in the forward line is create opportunities for other people. He puts on a lot of blocks. You know, a couple of times Jack Rewalt's got free because Morris has been down there. He puts on good pressure. He's the one that went to Hibbard early, and I think he was just on hooker. So we'll keep an eye on who goes to hooker now.
Richmond by 14, 6 played, final quarter. Can Essendon respond like they did moments ago through Collier? In the middle. Gee, jumping far too early was Bell Chambers. It goes Richmond's way. Out of the congestion. Zach Merritt, though, for Essendon. Gives a handball to Bagley. Handballs to Stanton. Kicks back towards the wing. The wing up towards Jackson Merritt. Couldn't mark. Martin off the pack. Takes it. Kicks it wide. It's going to be in the field of play. But to Hooker of Essendon, who marks at defensive 50. Wants to centre it up. He gives the handball to Hurley. They want to get to the southern side. Hurley out towards Bagley. Waits for it to bounce. Picks it up. Looks up. Kicks towards the southern wing. Taylor Hunt and Collier. Collier at the front, got a hand in there. Trying to now get to the boundary because he's outnumbered. It does get to the boundary. Out of play. Tim Hodges, you've got some news.
Oh, I can't quite believe this. In his 400th game, Dustin Fletcher came to the bench. I know the guys had the red vest and they were giving it to someone. I thought surely it wouldn't go to Fletcher in his 400th, but it has. He is putting on the red vest. Marty Gleeson is into the game, but Fletcher is out.
No sentiment in footy. Collier kicks it up beyond halfway. It didn't find a teammate initially. Chapman's trying to make something of it, and so too Heppel, but they've got plenty of marksmen around them. And it's in dispute and it will be balled up. So Richmond by 14 points. It's the crowd finding out. Underwhelmed. Edwards away from the stoppage for Richmond. He put the hand pass near Menadou. It didn't quite work out. Cooney might have been taken high in that. The umpire says no. He's going to ball it up on the southern wing. Fletcher and Hurd sitting side by side for a moment. Down on the bench. There's a hole to climb out of here for Essendon. They're down by 14 points with not much flow at the moment. We're at the 8-minute mark of the final term. Bell Chambers knocks it to open space, but Menadou's there for the Tigers. He was happy to take the tackle, and there it stays again.
Well, Fletcher came into the game under a bit of an injury cloud, getting that knock last week. And he did look like a 40-year-old in defence in that third quarter. From the throw-up, it's a Richmond ball. Martin handballs to the wing. It gets there to Ellis. That's Corey Ellis. Got the handball away to Delidio. Delidio the 1-2. He gets it back. Now they're running. Ellis. This is a big moment for a young man. He goes at goal, and that is a moment to remember. Corey Ellis, the sub, gives Richmond a 20-point lead at the 8-minute mark of the final term. Richmond 10-10-70. Essendon 7-8-50. He'll remember that probably for the rest of his life.
Yeah, it's a great finish, and you love to see that. All his teammates, every player that was on the ground has run over to get around him, and that's what you love to see in football. But it was a nice passage of play by Richmond. Just took them on with clean hands through the midfield, breaking away there, and a beautiful finish, 45 metres out on the left boot. And he's very happy about it, as he should be.
Richmond by 20 points. It's Fremantle by 5 points at the Adelaide Oval. The Dockers 8-3-51 to the Crows 6-10-46. That's 22 minutes gone of the third term. Bell Chambers wins the tap. Essendon are stretched as far as they can go, you'd think. Miles wins it out of the middle for Richmond, off to Floston, up to McIntosh, up to the 50 for Revolt. He reaches in and marks. He's too far out himself unless he can wheel and go. He wheels and goes to the top of the square. Cochin got hands to it, couldn't mark. He dives at it. Gleeson toes it away for the Dons into the pocket. Off the ground goes Stanton. He'd be happy for the boundary. He hasn't quite got it there yet. He does eventually. Has to knock it away from Manadou and see it out of play.
Every time I think of when you say Manadoo, I think of Xanadu.
Everybody does. Just got to find the right moments to work it in.
Exactly.
You'll be patient all year with that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Thrown in. Heppel scoops it up. Handball missed Gleeson. Cochin is there. He takes it. He's tackled. Goes straight up in the air with a 5-metre kick. Still a chance for the Tigers with Corey Ellis. He kicked the last goal. He's tackled here just outside the 50 to be thrown up. Right half forward for the Tigers. They've made their move. Can Essendon respond? Hooker taps it down to Heppel. Kicks down the line towards Danaher. A strong mark in front of his eyes against Chaplin. Inboard kick is good to Goddard. Wants to release with a handball to Cooney, and he does that. Runs inside the centre square. Gets to the open side. Stanton will mark Sugar over the top to Howlett. He will. It floats a little bit, but Howlett marks. He looks up. He's 55 from goal. He kicks to full forward. No mark taken. Zach Merritt there front and centre. Got tackled as he immediately gained possession. Tigers' defence was good there. They run it out of bounds. It'll be thrown in. Terrific work. Bostone was the one that kicked it, but working as a team to make sure Essendon didn't get that mark at the top of the square.
Richmond by 20, the Dockers by a goal. Left forward pocket for Essendon at the throw-in. Ambrose got clear touch on it, but knocks it straight down to Ellis of Richmond. He clears the defensive area. No mark for Hurley against Revolt. Hurley might still get it, but fed it from Gleeson. Off now to Melksham. Kicks from the boundary. It's a great-looking kick. It rushed the goal front, but Grimes was there to touch it through. And Richmond's lead is protected. They're up by 19.
Couple of good moments for the Richmond defence. Bostone in short to Ellis. That's Brandon Ellis short to Hooley in the back pocket. Southern side. Up to 12 minutes in the final term now as Hooley goes short. With that Richmond's lead 19 points. Bostone has it again. He also goes short. The Tigers just trying to hold possession at the moment. Miles the next in the chain. Out on the southern half-back flank. He goes long towards the wing. It's a big pack. Delidio up high. So was Dempsey. At the drop, it's an Essendon ball. Howlett with a handball out of the scrimmage. Now with Heppel. Handballs to Gleeson. Kicks forward of centre. Goddard waited for it. And he got overwhelmed by numbers, and Richmond have it back in the middle.
Miles just needs to find a good option, heading to half forward. Martin came out hard. Hooker got back in front of him and made the spoil. Bagley with a hand pass to Melksham. His defensive side of the middle. He gets around Martin and he kicks it into the centre field. It's mark taken by Ambrose. Off to Collier. Up now to Stanton. Stanton kicks it around the perimeter of the 50. And the mark is taken out on the far side by Jackson Merritts. It wouldn't absolutely be beyond him. He's going to probe for the teeth of goal. Carlisle reaches up. In the hot spot. He's quite rightly been paid the mark. So built on 4 or 5 minutes of sustained pressure from Essendon. And Jake Carlisle, who has been wonky around goal, needs his truest boot. It's his most simple shot. It's not negotiable. And he has missed it. And that just will not do if you're playing as a permanent forward. 1 goal, 3 for Jake Carlisle, and Essendon still 18 points the wrong side of it.
And at the 14-minute mark of the final term, Brandon Ellis marks the kick in. Goes to the southern side. It's a poor kick. Chapman's mark for Essendon unattended. He chips it back to the 50. Goddard backing back, marks it. Now he looks up. I'm not sure whether he's got the distance in him from here now. Late in the game, he's going to pop it to the square. Carlisle's got a lot to beat. It gets to the back. It's bashed through for a rush behind by Taylor Hunt. So the Bombers getting closer, but by behinds, not goals. Richmond's lead 17 points.
Scores a level at the Adelaide Oval, 24 minutes into the third term. 52 apiece, the Crows and the Dockers. Ellis on the kick in. Brandon Ellis leaves the square and as far as he can. Marich and Griffiths are his 2 tall targets. At ground level is Edwards. He shirked the tackles. He gives it off to Manadoo. Kicks from the interchange gates. He's kicked it to the sub though. And Gleeson slides in to intercept for Essendon. He squares it off for Howlett. They've got a runner out the far side. Stanton has made space out on the southern wing. He marks and goes quickly in the Cooney direction. Hands up, couldn't mark. Carlisle in the pocket, overwhelmed. Brandon Ellis's hand pass was creative. It found Miles and off to Chapman. He works it around now for Hunt, and the kick coming out from Brandon Ellis is a good one to Hooley out at half back. They were cohesive in defence.
And they're holding up well as a unit at the moment, Richmond. Rammer nodding his head in the background. It's getting tense. Hooley kicks down the line towards the southern wing. Revolt up, couldn't mark. Front of the pack, it's Howlett. Handballs to Goddard. Has to go back to Howlett. Close to the boundary. The kick is out of bounds, or out of bounds on the full. Out of bounds and hit the line and bounced out.
What gives? Who gives first here? Essendon are really pushing at the moment, trying to find a goal. The Tigers are defending for their lives. Can they find a goal, the Tigers, and probably almost seal it?
Heppel wins it down to Watson. Watson from a standing start towards half forward to a contest. Well, in the end, it was no contest. Fostone marking for the Tigers, and he'll kick to the middle.
There's a high sense of adventure into the kick. Goddard made the spoil over Manadoo. They fight on. There's a free kick Essendon's way, as Collier was unfairly dealt with by Hunt. Collier not sure. He's got the long kick in the Carlisle direction. He's worked up under it. Brandon Ellis gets back, and he's happy to watch the ball roll away and out of play. Be thrown in 25 around from the Essendon goal front. They're down by 17 points. They've had the last 6 inside 50s. They're throwing what they've got, but they can't come up with a goal for the moment. Through the pack comes Brandon Ellis, being pursued. He's overwhelmed. He still gets a hand in there. He flips it to the boundary, but he's going to get knocked off holding the ball. Essendon will conjure a shot at goal from it, and it is to be Paul Chapman. He's on the angle, but he'll play the J-curve. He's a good head for a moment like this. Buried in the left forward pocket. He's going to have them charge at him. He's a wily old veteran, Paul Chapman. He curls it through for the goal. Just what Essendon needed. They're down by 11, and we've crossed the halfway mark of the final term. 8-11-59 to Richmond 10-10-70.
Well, they're hanging in there, the Bombers. They're hanging in there. I mean, they need to try a couple of things around at the stoppages, I feel, and just try and get it on the outside. We've seen Heppel go third man up, and I like that move, just to try and create something and get it moving in their direction. That was just purely through forward pressure, and they're going to need to make the most of their opportunities if they're going to win this game.
Is it the J curve or the Stevie J curve?
Just the J. Yeah, it's Stevie's curve. He calls it the J curve.
Back in the middle. It's a wonky bounce, and I'll call it back, so down to Tim Hodges.
Perhaps the reason for the red vest for Dustin Fletcher, guys, a bag of ice sits on his left quad underneath a blanket for the 400-game veteran on the bench in the red vest.
It's meant to be a hot water bottle for people of his age, not ice under a blanket. Thrown up in the middle. Second time round. Miles. Oh, was he quick enough? No, he wasn't, holding the ball. Couldn't get the handball away as he was tackled. So it's a free kick to Melksham. He shapes the ball to Cooney, who jumped early and gave away a free kick. Would have been a freakish mark. Trying to do the Warwick Kappa and sit on the shoulders of Cochin, but just did it too early and was unrealistic in the attempt. So Cochin takes the free kick. Fans out towards the members' wing. Strong mark to Delidio in front. That was a contested mark. It was a really strong one. And then he can go short to Brandon Ellis. Members' wing. 18 and a half minutes played final term. And Richmond's lead is 11 points. Ellis kicks to Cochin when about 15 and a half metres. He goes another 15 and a half metre ball. Poor one. Wanting Miles, and Melksham comes in and spoils right next to James Hird, who really is like the NBA coach. He just needs the suit with the jacket off and the sleeves rolled up.
They've tensed up, Richmond.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last 4 scores have been Essendon's way.
They're trying to protect the lead. The Tigers too much. They need to find the scoreboard again.
We're a long way out. There's still 8.5 minutes to play. Watson wins it down to Collier. It's not his best effort. He's kicked it out on the full, approaching half forward. They'll have to rediscover a bit of zest, Richmond, and a bit of adventure. Hooley out to half-back for Martin. And there's absolutely no movement in the group of players ahead who are marking out territory, and that means Martin has to kick to a contest. Essendon players converge from everywhere. Bagley edged it clear. Sits for Goddard. Oh, a bit slow with a hand pass once. He got it out the second time, though. No damage done. Bell Chambers to Dempsey. His kick was smothered by Manadou. On the spot, though, is Stanton to get it back. They're trying hard to lose it here, Essendon. Bell Chambers almost stuffs it up. He has it wrenched from his grasp. Here comes Edwards out of the pack. He unloads from 51. It's a vacant goal front. It's out to the right. It's a behind. Richmond by 12.
Quick kick in down the middle to Hibberd. And Hibberd will go to defensive 50 to Bagley. So Essendon getting out here quite comfortably to the southern wing now. The kick finds Howlett. Sweeps it inboard. Handball to Hibberd, who kept running. Is at the logo southern side. Gets away from Corey Ellis. Goes with the wide ball. Hooley zoning off. Did okay to at least create a contest. Ball loose. Socket off the ground towards the boundary. That was successful. It'll be thrown in between wing and half forward right for the Bombers. McIntosh just getting in an important kick to get it away from Essendon's hungry half forwards. The boundary umpire retrieves the footy. He throws it in. Bell Chambers and Marriage. Bell Chambers swatted it down. Comes out towards Edwards, who knocks it to Marriage. It was clever. Gave the handball out. Now it's Greig, who kicks down the line. Forward to the southern wing. Hooker with a spoil. And the crumb to Dempsey of Essendon. Good inboard kick.
Goddard marks from the wing. What will he do? He'll play it into centre field. Hurley up from half-back to mark and go. Kicking for Chapman. It'll bounce before it reaches him, and it's skipped away. Hawley beats him back to it. He saves the Richmond defence again. Off to Rance. The kick on the way out is a steady one for Manadou. Up to Revolt. The Tigers are breaking. Martin's racing up to the 50. Revolt sends it in that direction. It'll land in the pocket. Hibberd goes with Martin. Martin against the boundary. He keeps it in once. Then he's barged over by Hibberd. There's plenty who have been beaten in a one-on-one like that by Dustin Martin in a forward line. Hibberd doesn't join the list.
30 metres around from Richmond's goal in their forward pocket at the city end. Bell Chambers wins the tap well to Heppel. Heppel handball to Stanton. Handballs to the run of Collier. Confronted by Hawley. He keeps running though, Collier. On his left, forward of the wing. Chapman out of position. And a very good defensive mark to Grimes, who's been good for the Tigers tonight. He marks between wing and half-back. But there's no urgency from the Tigers. They're slow. They're just holding on. As Essendon press for the last time. The kick straight to Hooker of Essendon. Defensive handball to Dempsey. They're trying to run. They're trying to be brave. That was extremely brave. Revolt almost cut it off. Stanton won a hard ball. Handball to Gleeson to Heppel. Oh no, Hawley intercepts it. And Tigers on the break now.
What a critical moment from Hawley, who's held them together down back. Now to create the play to the southern side. McIntosh takes the mark. Richmond have got a lot of numbers committed forward. McIntosh sweats over the kick. He delivers it wide out into the pocket. Hurley had the play. Bagley folded back. They probably spoiled each other. It's out of play, 40 from the Richmond goal front. The Tigers by 12 at three-quarter time at the Adelaide Oval. It's the Dockers by 4 over the Crows. Thrown in. Ambrose wins the tap. Only as far as Manadou. Hand pass to McIntosh. High into the pocket. Hibberd makes the spoil for the Dons and the gather. His hand pass wasn't great. Heppel wins it though. Gives it to Dempsey. Kicks beyond the defensive 50 for Ambrose. Here's Collier. He receives. He delivers to midfield. Danaher turns. His kick is smothered. He tries again. He turns it over. Cochin for the Tigers.
Hawley though tackled well by Goddard. Essendon get it back. It comes towards Gleeson. Got a hand to it. Lost it. Now Brandon Ellis for Richmond. Kicks towards half forward. But Grigg out of position and Bagley marking for the Bombers. He goes quickly inside the centre square to Collier, who marks. Plays on. Chisels a little ball that misses Ambrose. Brandon Ellis another handball. That was poor though, Mr. Lidio. Crashing in Zach Merritt. Brandon Ellis goes again. Gets the handball to Edwards. The kick to fall forward. Martin and Hibberd in a one-on-one. Neither could mark. They fight for it at ground level. Still a chance for the Tigers in the pocket. No, Hibberd did extremely well. Handballs it away from the congestion. Although Martin chases the ball. Picks picks it up at the 50, looks up, trying to get away from Gleeson, on his left, kicks to fall forward, Dempsey comes out defensively, initially spoils, then took the mark, then got pushed in the back, gets 50. Courtney Dempsey, well done.
Great defending by the Bombers. Hibbert in 2 one-on-one contests with Martin. Martin renowned for how strong he is. Hibbert's held up really well.
25 gone of the final term, Richmond by 12. Dempsey flares it out to Zach Merritt, kicks inside the 50. Watson worked underneath it by Batchelor. Loose ball. Cochin is onto it for Richmond in defence. Floats the hand pass up to Chaplin. Got away from the first tackle. Turned it up to Delidio. It was a risky kick coming inboard. It pays off. Delidio out across the face of goal for Hawley. He has been the steadiest head on the field. And now for Batchelor. He pulls up at the defensive 50.
Still plenty of time.
Chip it around for Cochin and Hawley again. 60 away from the defensive goal. Richmond protecting a 2-goal lead.
Need to be moving ahead of the ball, the Tigers. They're very stagnant ahead of the ball. Got to give options. Got to keep gaining territory.
Hawley to Chaplin. He's in the left back pocket. He's been called to play on. He's going to have to kick it to a contest. So Essendon gets its chance. High ball down the wing. Edwards up over the pack. The little fella who could leap. And he takes his own sweet time once he lands. From half back to half forward goes the kick. Essendon had a couple up. It means Richmond have got at least one down. Marich ran over it. Had time to go back and get it. Gives it to Delidio. He was hot. He hand passed out in front of himself and Melksham brought him down. Free kick to Delidio.
Smart by Delidio. Just felt the pressure behind him. Got the hands out in front. Drew the free kick.
Up to 26 and a half gone now in the final term. Delidio with the free kick. He goes inboard. Somehow Edwards got away and he's marked it. Only 75 from goal and in no hurry. He's going to go back here sideways in the end to almost where the ball was.
They'll find their players, the Bombers.
Yeah. Delidio has it again. Now this one will go to the 50. Cochin's got away this time. Just outside the 50. Told to play on. The kick into the pocket. Jack juggles. Yes! He's got it. Only 30 from goal. In the left forward pocket out on the southern side. He'll kick to the city end to win the game for Richmond.
And any score's important because it makes it 3 kicks that Essendon will then have to get 3 goals. 12-point margin at the moment.
The umpire sets the mark. Jack gives the thumbs up. He knows the importance of this kick. Richmond's lead is currently 12 points, nearly 28 played in the final quarter. In he comes. Jack Revolt, the man for the big occasion. The man to kick it behind. The lead 13 points, missing to the left-hand side. Is the door open? I'm not sure. I think it's shut.
It's just not closed. I think it's locked as well, Whitey.
Goddard. He's going to have to kick it for territory. He'll blaze it up into the middle of the ground. They fly from all angles. Grimes with the first spoil. Cooney the second. Gained a bit of ground, but Richmond have numbers at it. McIntosh and Hunt, who goes back to Chaplin, and he'll kick it to Rance. And they can control the ball at the 29.5-minute mark. Floston presents across half-back. And out now for Grigg.
2 weeks in a row now the Tigers are going to win in arm wrestles. I think which is really important for Richmond moving forward in the season, that they can get wins when they're not playing well.
Kick down the line from Grigg. Grimes against Goddard. Goddard gets the fist in, sees it out of play at the interchange gates where Dustin Fletcher sits with the red vest on in a team that's going to be defeated in his 400th game. Thrown in on the members' wing. Essendon have a 3rd and 4th man up at it, but it's batted forward by Morris for the Tigers. Cut off by Collier. Kicks to centre half forward. Up went Watson. Came down without the footy. Delidio worked it out the back to Flostone. Now to Rance. Careful with his kick. Good placement to Grigg. And Grigg's got it at half back. Sits on the footy. Kicks it out across the face of goal. They have absorbed a lot in this final term, Richmond. It says a bit about their poise as they bring up a third straight win. There's some mettle and grit about these Tigers. They win Dreamtime. Dustin Fletcher buries his head in his hands. The milestone doesn't deliver the result most coveted. It's Richmond by 13 points. Richmond led virtually all night. At the changes by 10 points, by 11, by 8 and by 13. There was never much in it, but they always had hand. 10-12-72 Richmond defeat Essendon 8-11-59 in front of 83,804. Richmond by 13 points. Goal kickers for the winners. Grigg with a couple. So too Cochin. Singles to Martin, Revolt, Griffiths, Corey Ellis, McIntosh and Morris. For Essendon, 2 each for Danaher and Collier. Singles to Chapman, Watson, Jackson Merritt and Carlisle. 10-12-72 Richmond to Essendon 8-11-59. The Tigers go to 5-4. The Bombers to 4-5. It has a material impact on the aspirations of both teams. Ahead of the presentation, Adam Ramanauskas and Lenny Hayes.
Well, look, well done to the Tigers. Look, the game didn't get to any great heights, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's 4 points to the Richmond Football Club. As I mentioned late in that game, 2 arm wrestles 2 weeks in a row, the Tigers, and they come away with the points. So that's what I think will be most pleasing for Damien Hardwick. You know, he didn't get big games out of Cochin. Cochin started well, kicking the 2 first quarter goals, but then, you know, wasn't really a big factor. Revolt's the same, wasn't really a big factor in the game. So I think that's what becomes, you know, all the more important, that his better or best players didn't necessarily play well, and they can still win the game of football. On the other hand, for the Bombers, they just don't play with enough dare. They want to play perfect football all the time, and unfortunately football's not a perfect game. For Essendon to go forward in this season, they need to start taking more risks with the football.
Yeah, they do, Raymond. No, you're spot on. I mean, there was, like you said, it wasn't a fantastic game to watch, but Richmond will be extremely pleased. Their 3rd win in a row. They're starting to build a little bit of momentum. Some of their good players are working into some form. A really good result for them.
Just joined the presentation here with Craig Willis.
People, which means dreaming. I'm delighted to welcome back to the MCG Michael Long, along with Nathan Lovett-Murray, to present the Ayukin Award, which this year, at Dreamtime of the G, goes to Brandon Ellis.
He had 33 disposals down back, 17 kicks, 16 hand passes, 13 contested disposals in that. He took 8 marks, 5 clearances, laid a tackle and twice put it inside 50.
Firstly, I'd like to thank Essendon Football Club. Put up a great fight tonight, but it's good that we got the win. Secondly, to our boys, dug deep, and it was an awesome win. And thirdly, it's one of our favourite events of the year, Dreamtime at the G, and it's the first one I won, so well done, boys.
Well done, Brandon. Thank you to both teams and to a crowd in excess of 80,000 here for Dreamtime at the G. Good night to you all.
Richmond by 13 points at the Adelaide Oval, 6 minutes into the final term. It's the Dockers by 5 points over the Crows in a low-scoring thriller there as well.
Jared, that crowd of 83,804 is the second highest Dreamtime crowd. The highest was back in 2013. That's a big one. Now, I'm not sure how many extra came because it was Dustin Fletcher's 400. It was a Richmond home game, but that is a big number.
Yes, with so much on the line, it's a great crowd. Lenny and Rammer.
Yeah, look, it was. Essendon really now are back in the pack. The Tigers, obviously, are for them, 5 and 4. They're starting to play, I think, a brand of football where we were critical of them early in the season, really about getting their hands dirty, winning those contests.
Actually, sorry, just let me interrupt you because the final moment of the night is an honour guard set up for the 400-gamer. An old man football is lifted up on shoulders, Dustin Fletcher, as everybody who remains in the ground, and plenty have stayed for this moment, fans of both persuasions, to offer their thanks and congratulations to Dustin Fletcher, who finished the game as the sub, but for the 400th time, he's in the rarest of company as he heads down into the race.
Yeah, look, well done to Fletch. Obviously not the result they were looking for him tonight, but I think celebrated really well. And I love the respect from the other clubs. Richmond now 2 weeks in a row. Last week with Kane Corns, and now this week with Dustin Fletcher. I think that's what football does very well in honouring the greats of the game. Back onto the game. Like I said, that the Tigers 2 weeks in a row arm wrestles, but they're getting their hands dirty now. It's different, You look at today, Brandon Ellis has a very good game. I thought Sean Edwards was brilliant today, 25 possessions, but
had a real impact.
He did. I just, whether it be in the air, there's a lot of, there's a lot of moments in that last quarter where you sort of, he's had 10 possessions in that last quarter. Edwards, Ellis has had 12, Deledio 9, Cochin 8. So, with Allison and Edwards, it's just pleasing. It's others that are, coming to the fore and doing the job for the Tigers. But
just those depth players.
You
need to play well because your stars, you know what you're going to get from them every week. But if Richmond are going to take that next step, they need those guys playing well each week and being consistent.
I thought Hawley was good in that last quarter as well. There's a couple of one-on-ones football inside Essendon's forward 50, and Hawley was able to win those contests. And Hawley's probably more your attacking halfback flanker, but he was able to defend very well. I thought Essendon pressed really hard in that last quarter, but Richmond's defence held up really strongly. And for mine, in the end, you're worried about they're chipping the ball around with 5 minutes to go, and we're sort of sitting here going, geez, it's too early to be, trying to ice the game. You wanted them to score again, but they did it well. Yeah, and Essendon didn't press up hard enough on the Tigers when they were holding that football up.
It seemed like Essendon that last couple of minutes were almost out of gas, and they just dropped off late, and Richmond would just be able to control the ball and hit those short passes, and it just chewed up the clock, and Essendon obviously weren't able to get back in the game. But yeah, look, there's some worrying signs for Essendon. I think they're just a bit too stagnant down back. I think they need to put another runner in there. I think they're a little bit tall. They don't have enough creative players out of that back half, enough guys willing to take risks, because when they actually do move the ball, that second half, that first part of the third quarter, they looked really good and they got themselves back into the game, but they just weren't able to sustain it. So whether that's something the coaching staff need to have a look at.
As good as Hooker is as a defender with his intercept possessions, he actually slows Essendon down. He has a tendency to kick the football sideways a lot instead of taking that mark and either giving the handball off or moving the ball on.
Are they too tall down back? Do you think they...
Well, look, it's a hard one because...
I mean, does Fletcher, he might miss now with that injury? Do they bring in a Gwilt who just provides a little bit more drive?
It's got to be horses for courses. It has to be for mine. Look, with McBean on the ground today, Fletcher plays on McBean, and it's fine, but you want more dash, you want more dare out of Hibberd. I thought Hibberd was well held today.
Yeah, Morris did a pretty good job.
He ends up with 24 possessions, but his impact on the game...
They're all under pressure.
...was as much. Dempsey only had the 15 possessions. He came into the game late in in that last quarter, but that was it. And that's, for mine, you look... I thought Richmond defended the centre corridor really well today. They made Essendon kick down the line a lot.
Let's head into the Richmond rooms. 13-point winners, Tim Hodges.
They go arm in arm, Jared, and I think the Tigers are going to belt this out and enjoy it a hell of a lot. We'll talk to Brett Deledio after the song, but here we go. Boys, stick with me. I'm just grabbing Brett Deledio. Brett, we're live on ABC Grandstand. We've got Lenny Hayes and Adam Ramanauskas upstairs. Can I start? 84,000 people. This is your biggest stage of the year. What a great night for the Richmond Footy Club.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we everyone likes to play in front of big crowds. That's always the fun part of footy, I suppose. But there's a bit of a dour scrap, I suppose, in the end. But we don't mind winning ugly like that. It's another W on the board. And, again, we had some terrific kids come in and play. Connor Menadue and Corey Ellis kicked that nice goal on the run at the end. Was fantastic.
The second quarter in particular was frustrating for all fans here at the G. Was it frustrating out there playing?
No, not really. When we had last week we had another nearly a scoreless quarter as well, so it wasn't not frustrating at all. When we're in front, mate, we'll do whatever it takes.
The camaraderie with this football team, no one enjoys a song more than your group. It is a very tight group, isn't it?
Oh, mate, when you go through, when we started with Dimmer and we'll getting kicked in the nuts every week, and you don't get too many wins, you've got to enjoy them, and that's something that Dimmer started from the very start, with celebrate your wins and your small victories when you're not going so great. But boys are still playing some good footy now, and we're continuing just to consolidate, I suppose.
The boys loved your work. We've got Lenny Hayes and Adam Ramanauskas upstairs. Go fire away, boys.
Lids, it's Rammer. Well done on the game. It must be pleasing to win 2 weeks now back-to-back in arm wrestles, because it's probably something that you're criticised early on in the season, that you couldn't win these type of games.
Yeah, exactly right. That's everyone likes to play that nice brand of footy where it's just up and down, kicking lots of goals, but you see when it comes to finals, you've got to win the contested footy and the tackles. I'm not sure whether we did that or not tonight. Probably didn't, but it's another scrap that we're able to hold them off, and any win's a good win.
Yeah, Lids, it's Lenny up here, mate. Yeah, you did actually fight back in the contested possession. I think they were on top early, but ended up winning that by about 11. But what do you put the turnaround in the team? 3 weeks in a row, you've played some really good consistent footy. As you mentioned, you're probably still not at your absolute peak, but what do you put it down to the last 3 weeks?
A number of different things. I think we just needed to, get our good players playing good footy consistently, and getting our leaders playing good, consistent footy. But a bit of care with the footy, I think, was probably the biggest thing. We've spent plenty of time where if you try and go too fast all the time, it's just turnover to turnover. And I think we learnt quite a bit from that North Melbourne game where they kicked, 92 points off turnover. So a bit more pride and care with the footy, and, you're seeing the results.
Did you guys target this part of the season? Obviously, Port Adelaide, Dreamtime's always a big game, and now next week against Fremantle's probably really making or breaking your season?
No, we didn't specifically target it. We usually just break our season down into 4-week blocks, and we didn't start off the year as well as we would have liked, but this last couple of weeks have been starting to trend upwards and playing some good footy. Still plenty of things to work on, though.
And, mate, just the last one from me. Liam McBean, tell us a little bit about him. He looks like a really awkward matchup for the opposition. He's quite agile for a big guy.
Yeah, he is. Look, he's probably growing up 15, 16, he was just played as an on-ball, and then he had a really big growth spurt, so we had to start playing in the ruck. So he's got all those tricks at ground level, but that's his thing. He's just got to get stronger over the footy and keep giving us the contest. And I actually thought he wasn't too bad tonight. It would have been nice if he had taken that hang, but
yes.
He was pretty good, and we just need to get him some more run in the last quarter, and brought on Corey Ellis, little silk, and kicked that winning goal.
With those wins at your back, are you excited to head to Perth and play the Dockers, which clearly looks like the benchmark in the competition this year?
Yeah, bloody oath. We play well over there usually, but nice big ground, and we've got some quick blokes that like the open spaces, so go over there and try and take it up to, like you said, the benchmark, and see how good you are.
Good on you, Brett. Well done.
Good on you, boys. Thanks for that.
Brett Deledio with us in the Richmond rooms. 13-point winners over Essendon as the Dockers by 7 points over the Crows with 9.5 minutes to go at the Adelaide Oval.
He's been very good for the Tigers, Brett Deledio. Just adds.
Michael Barlow's just kicked one of the best goals you'd see to put Fremantle up by 13 points with all of that.
The one thing with Richmond against Fremantle is they actually play very well against Fremantle for whatever reason, whether it be here at the MCG or even over at Subiaco. They've had a couple of good performances against them recently, so they'll go over there thinking they're a bit of a chance.
Oh, absolutely. 3 wins in a row, and as Lyd said, they're better players in some form. I mean, early in the season, Cochin was under fire a little bit, but he's worked back in some really good form. Delidio's back in the team. They're a much better team when he's up and about and he's going well. And, Ellis is playing some good footy. Edwards, they've got some nice depth. McIntosh has added to that midfield. So they're pretty well poised to go over there.
Their ruckman's their barometer. He's their absolute barometer for this side. Particularly, I think his attack on the ball and on the man.
That's 7 clearances.
Yeah, it sets Richmond up. It sets the tone for the Tigers early in games with whether he's on or not.
Yeah, and when he was missing at the start of last year, that's when Richmond were really struggling. Yeah. And I'm just looking at his stats tonight. He's had 10 contested possessions and 7 clearances to go with a clear hit-out advantage over Belchambers.
They don't have too many guys in that team that are really combative, but he's the one, and I think you're spot on, Rammer. He's the Mumford type for GWS. He's a real barometer for them.
Now, Rammer's going to head down to the Essendon rooms now because a lot of Dustin's former teammates.
And just quickly, I know one man will be very happy tonight is my father, a passionate Richmond supporter, so I can't wait to listen to that around the dinner table tomorrow night.
Richmond by 13 points. So, Lenny, they went to the edge of oblivion. They were 2-4. That Hobart game I gave up on them after that. They were just rank that afternoon. And to pull it together against Collingwood, to go over to Footy Park and beat Port, which notionally is difficult to win this, to get to the bye at 5-5 if they lose to Freo, if they take their free swing and be something better than that, and it's restored their season from a point where it was quickly getting away from them.
Yeah, it was, and similar to last year. I mean, it certainly was. I mean, their better players weren't in great form. You're right. I mean, I lost all faith in tipping them as well because you just didn't know which Richmond was going to turn up. But on the back of, and I still think they've got a lot of improvement left in them. But to get the 3 wins, to play against some pretty good opposition, some teams that are around them on the ladder, that they're pretty well poised to attack this second half of the year. Where they sit, I'm still not too sure. I don't think they're going to challenge the top 5 or 6. But they might, battle for those last couple of positions. And look, if they're in good form at the right time of year, they might do a little bit of damage. But yeah, they've still got a long way to go to challenge those top teams. But next week against Fremantle is going to be a great test.
They've played on about 8 of the next 14 Friday nights, Richmond. Some staggering amount of Friday nights they've got.
They're saving a lot of people.
The season needed Richmond.
Yes.
Because Carlton weren't going to come back.
What about the Essendon side of things? My view coming into the season is they weren't very good, and there was a differing view saying that they were actually potentially a top 4 side. They confused me in that, and nobody more than Carlisle, who can mark the ball. He's kicked 1 goal, 3 and 1 out of bounds. So he's had 5 shots at goal. He is playing as a permanent forward, which is a task that he just doesn't look capable of. Not that there aren't bits and pieces, but as a package, he's got to be kicking 4 goals tonight, and if he does that, they probably win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had the chance to break this game apart. He could have easily been the best player on the ground, but when you are forward and you miss those opportunities, it's deflating for the rest of the team. So, look, I don't know where they're at either. I mean, I think Paddy Ryder is a huge loss for them. Belchambers, has been spoken about as, maybe getting $600,000 or $700,000 a year. But he's not playing anywhere near that at the moment.
The problem, Lenny, for Belchambers is that he's never recovered from that serious foot injury, so he doesn't have the jump that he did have. I want to get back to the Jake Carlisle discussion shortly, Jared.
We'll nick into the Essendon rooms. Tim Hodges has got Courtney Dempsey.
Thanks, Jared. Courtney has been good enough to join us. Such a big night for you, mate. It's disappointing not to get the 4 points.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had the opportunity, so... just missed opportunities, and hopefully we'll bounce back.
How frustrating was that second half? You had a lot of the ball, you just couldn't convert on the scoreboard.
Yeah, look, I thought we controlled the tempo of the game. I thought we had it under control, and actually we had it under control for most of the game, but just the conversion wasn't there. But that's the game, and we just got real.
And the disappointment of not being able to get it done on Dustin's special night.
Yeah, that's another disappointing thing. But I mean, in Dustin Fletcher, he doesn't worry. Them things doesn't worry him. It's just a journey for him, and hopefully he's got many more to come.
We've got Lenny Hayes upstairs. I believe Adam Ramanauskas is on his way down the stairs to join us. But boys, fire away. Courtney's got the cans on.
Yeah, Courtney, bad luck tonight. It's Lenny up here, mate. Just at half-time, it seemed like you guys were instructed to come out and look at every opportunity to try and switch the ball, and it actually opened things up for you. Was that mail correct? Were you spoken about that at half-time from the coaching staff?
Yeah, look, we knew they were a pressing team, so we thought we would open them up wide out in the wings and work really well for us. And we thought at times we just started being a bit conservative and going back down the line to where their numbers were. But as we continued, we kept doing it and it got us in there. It's just the conversions at the end, once we get inside 50, was the hard part.
Courtney, I remember talking to you before you got drafted up in Canberra when it was really cold and you'd come down from Cairns to Brisbane, then to Canberra. Then you went to Essendon. You've played in so many of these Dreamtime at the G Games now. Is it still as special as it was for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the occasion is nearly just as big as the Anzac Day, and to be out there to represent my people is one I will remember, and